Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Rye House Karts Raceway for coverage of round 9 of the Club 100 Sprint Championships for 2018. My name's Andrew Mather. Alongside me in the commentary box, as ever, is my Double Dash Motorsport Media partner in crime, Mr. Howard Mitchell. Morning, Howard.
Morning, Andrew, and morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us at a lovely sunny Rye House, where the British summer is announcing it hasn't quite given up on us all yet. And we're in for another interesting day, Andrew. It's always an interesting circuit, this one, I think. It's quite a unique circuit.
Yep.
Starts can be a little bit clumsy at times. It's a difficult start here. So
I think it's what a lot of people would call old school.
It is quite old school, absolutely, and it's sometimes referred to as the Monaco of British karting as well, because it's quite a tight track. Although you've got big braking zones into hairpins, overtakes can be quite difficult here. So it's going to be an interesting day. We're of course getting towards the hot end of the season, and we've got some people trying to keep themselves in and indeed hold on to championship bids. So it's going to be an interesting day.
And you mentioned championship bids. I think this is the first time in my time in the Club 100 fraternity where all 4 championships are wide open at this stage of the season. Sometimes you get one of the championships, maybe 2, especially in the classes we'll see this afternoon. You're starting to see where they're going. They're thinking, yeah, this person needs this kind of result or that kind of result, and they'll wrap the title up, especially as we're getting into the point of the season where dropped scores are fully coming into play in terms of the bad days are getting scrubbed off. We're getting very much more representative scores for each drivers. But I'm very glad to say that we've been looking through the championship scores this morning, which we'll get all of you guys and girls up to date with in a moment. All 4 championships, the 2 that we're going to see this morning in the elites and the clubmans, and the 2 this afternoon in the lights and the heavies, wide open at this stage of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. It's really good to see all 4 championships, all 4 classes, as you say, nice and wide open as we head into the end game part of the season.
If this is your first time watching Club 100, welcome. It's great to have you on board. Let's just go through the kind of schedule of what today's about, or even if you need a little bit of a reminder. It's Sunday morning after all, and we all need waking up. I need waking up. Anyway, so we start tomorrow's, said I need to wake up, today's proceedings with elites and clubmans. So these are our 2 invitational classes. We will basically run the whole morning elites, then clubmans, elites, clubmans, elites, clubmans, back and forth, back and forth. Each of those classes and championships will have 3 heats, which will have random grids generated for them. All drivers have the same average grid position across those 3 races. Best performing driver across those 3 heats in terms of points, places means points of course, will take pole position for the trophy final. Second best driver will take second place, etc, etc, to decide the grid for the trophy final. Championship points for all races, but the big points, the big 150 points, is available in the final, and it's the same between both elites and clubmen. So 3 heats and 1 final for each. So we're going to see a total of 8 races this morning, and then we'll have the lights and heavyweights, separate classes again. Slightly different format. Drivers will take part in a qualifying session, which will put them in either to an pre-A or a pre-B final, and then we'll do the pre-B final, then the pre-A final, and then they will set the grid also for the Trophy B final and the Trophy A final. We'll get more into how that works later in the afternoon, but this morning, as ever, it's elites and clubmen's actions for you. Testing going on right now.
Took the words right out of my mouth, mate. Testing is currently going on. So don't worry, you're not missing any of the racing action. It's just coming to a close, actually. There's 1 minute left of this morning test session. This is an open test session. This isn't for any particular class. So you have a mixture of drivers out there at the moment. Though, interestingly, Andrew, at the top of the times at the moment, our current leader and defending champion in the elites class, Joe Holmes, setting the pace here. But with certainly somebody who's keen to take that title off him, Rob Newman, just behind him. it's second in the times. So interesting start to the day there.
Yes, indeed. Top 2 in the championship as it stands, up there at the top of the timesheets. And especially, I'm going to keep my eye on Rob Newman today a lot, especially considering we know how good he is. We know from his work in the BUKC, which obviously we've commentated on as well. We know how good he is. But he seems to have scarily got even better in the past month and a half or so. We weren't at Lyd. We were at Ella Park. He's been there or thereabouts all season, but all of a sudden he's there in second place in the championship. He's by far the highest rookie elite driver so far this year. We'll keep an eye on that mini championship as well. But he is right up there, and he really is challenging the likes of Joe Holmes, Steve Brown, Ian Blake. Should mention Ian Blake, not here today. He's in this championship fight now overall, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much found his mojo, as if he didn't have one already in the last few rounds, hasn't he?
Mojo Extra.
Mojo Plus package has been found by Rob Newman as the checkered flag waves and the engine notes die down. Darrell Lowe, third, by the way, in that session, currently sits 6th in the Clubman class standings. And
looked very consistent as well. That wasn't a last-minute lap time that he put up in there. That's been consistent pace in the 42.3s, in the 42.4s for pretty much the last 15 minutes. That's a good start to the day for Darrell Lowe. Let's hope he can replicate that form when we see the Clubmans come out in a bit.
Absolutely. So, yeah, silence falls over Rye House, but only briefly. Here is your pit lane. If you're new to Club 100 karting, then we are racing direct drive 2-stroke engined karts. So once the karts come to a stop, they don't have a clutch. They're not about to pull away again. Rear axle directly connected to the engine. That has several consequences in terms of how racing is done. We do rolling starts, not standing starts, because otherwise it would be a fairly undramatic start. And we have pusher carts, which help stricken carts if they spin out. That is a key thing about this format of racing. If you spin in this kind of intense, particularly in these two classes, that is your race run in terms of getting a decent result. But they do get bump started, and you'll all get the idea as we go along. There's also different coloured number plates for the different coloured classes. And if you're tuning in to support a particular driver, and this is your first time doing so, welcome along. Thank you for joining us. They keep the same number within that class throughout the season. So if you're supporting a particular driver, it's a good job just to note down what number they are, because sometimes in the heat of action we may refer to them by number quickly other than name, although we will of course do our best.
Bit more housekeeping for the folks at home. If you want to get in touch with us, if you're watching on one of the Facebook streams, I believe we're streaming on 3 pages today: the Club 100 page, of course, the Alpha Life page, and the Double Dash Motorsport Media page. You can comment below, and we'll start to get those comments coming through to us. So any of the questions, you could put them in there. You could also tweet us directly in the commentary box. Hello, Nicky. Looking resplendent as always. There he is. At Double Dash MM on Twitter if you want to get in contact with myself and Howard in the box. And so that's that bit out of the way. Let's also, whilst we've got a bit of a pause in proceedings, go through the competitor lists for this morning's classes. So starting with elites, here are your drivers present at Rye House today for round 9 of the Elite Sprint Championship for 2018. Joe Holmes, of course, we've already mentioned, is here, championship leader. Number 3, Steve Brown, former champion, of course, currently 5th in standings. He's here today looking to bounce back. He's had a couple of tough rounds over the course of the summer. Dan Healy, 10th in the championship, number 5, he's here as well. Number 6, Peter O'Connor, 9th in points at the moment, he's here. The number 7 of Darren Teal, Daz Teal, also currently in 7th place, so at the moment he's holding on to his rank from last year, but looking to improve on it. Number 8, Jay Elliott, 4th in points at the moment, back here at Rye House, looking, and he's had a very good season so far. I think that he's another driver who's scarily improved even further from previous efforts so far this year, so look out for him. Number 9, Ed Bars, currently 8th in points, is here. Number 11, first of our rookies on the entry list, and oh, sorry, I thought we were going down to the pit lane for a second. Second currently in rookie points as well, so let's keep an eye on him. 13th, another rookie, Peter Harris. 14, Dan Truman is here. 15, Chris Dixon. 16, Harrison Darville. 17, Jack Bolton. 19, Rob Newman, second in points overall and first in rookie. 20, Dave Longman. 21, Steve Hicks, who's currently 6th in points. I had a chat with him yesterday. Ian Blake not being here, this is a good opportunity for Steve Hicks to get up into the top 5 in the standings at this stage of the season. And last but not least, number 28, Rob Moore.
Yeah, significant day. Just a couple of people you mentioned there. Jay Elliott, as you say, Andrew, has really found some form. And when we were talking at the top of the stream about how close all the classes are, he's one of those people who in the past, when he was a heavyweight driver, unless you're about to correct me, was just one of those drivers who just powered on through to the championship, which is why it's, I wouldn't say unusual, but it's a pleasant surprise to see how close all the lightweights and heavyweights are, because you do often get that sort of, star rising up through the ranks who who takes that title and runs with it. But he's definitely found some form of late within the elites. And significant day yesterday for Steve Hicks in quadrants, which is another one of the formats run by Club 100. We have these sprints, we have endurances, we have quadrants. And Steve Hicks, one half of the duo, himself and Costa Creates, taking that quadrants title yesterday. So congratulations to them. He's already got one big achievement under his belt this year, Andrew.
Absolutely. Let's go through the Clubmans now, because of course we've got them here today as well. Very, very interested to see how the Clubmans go today. Let's run through their competitor list. Number 2, James Martin is here, currently 8th in points. Number 4, Chris Powell. Number 5, Luke Hornsby, who's shown some good pace through the middle part of this season. Look out for him today. He's also had quite a few drop scores in terms of not having been to all the rounds yet, so he could start coming up through points in this latter third of the season. Number 7, Stuart Osborne. Number 8, Paul Jennings. Number 10, Darrell Lowe, currently 6th in points in Clubman, but of course we've just seen him have a very, very good open test session just a few moments ago, so he's setting the pace in that class so far today. Number 12, Dave Whitehouse, currently 9th in points. 13, Frankie Hedges. 14, Stephen Jennings. 15, Andrew Dawson. 17, Martin Theodorou, currently 5th in points. Number 18, Simon Lloyd. Good morning, Simon. He's been tweeting us at Double Dash already this morning. Number 21, Stefan Scully, currently 2nd in points. Number 29, James Taylor, currently 1st in points and dominated the last time we did one of these Club 100 streams down at Ella Park a few weeks ago. Number 33, John Watkins, currently 3rd in points, and welcome to Clubman's, having been promoted for the rest of this season. Number 43, Freddie Fincham.
Yep, and that's going to time in brilliantly with this comment coming in, if this works. Let's try it out. There you go.
There we go.
Good luck coming in from Roy Fincham there for Freddie.
And good morning to Ron Collins as well, who wishes his luck to Reese Collins. Oh, it just disappeared off the screen. Let's bring that up again. There we go.
And something else we should mention, I think, relatively near the top of the show. This is the first round in as long as anyone can remember ever. In fact, I'm thinking it's not happened before.
Yes.
Maybe, where the man with the plan at Club 100, Mr. John Viger himself, isn't here. He's left it to. He's on holiday, and he's left it to the team here. We understand he's tuned in.
Good morning, John.
Hopefully we haven't bored him to the point where he's switched off yet. So if you're watching, John, thank you very much for tuning in, and hope you're enjoying yourself out there. And as far as we can tell, in our completely unqualified opinion, the team's doing a fantastic job. It's all running like clockwork here at the moment, and when we were here yesterday as well. So shout out to JV, who is taking well-earned rest for once from proceedings here. Cart's just getting fueled up in the pit lane, and then we'll be going into Elites Heat 1. As Andrew mentioned earlier, random grids for the 3 heats in this class. And there's still championship. That's the building we're in. It's so
think
dark,
it's
I'm not
blacked
sure
out,
if you can
wouldn't
see us. We're waving like crazy at the window, but we're in there. There is race control here at Rye House Kart Raceway in Hertfordshire, just inside of the Hertfordshire border.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of stuff to do. This is one of those... I often remember, you know, you go to a lot of indoor tracks and they may be twinned with a laser combat arena. But this complex is just something else in terms of entertainment. We've got crazy golf. There is a laser combat place nearby, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
There's an oval track next door to us. And who can forget, who can miss out the Ryasic Park experience, the dinosaur park. This is, and we're going to catch it on camera at some point. They've been moving around. We already have. We've been moving around a bit of the. They've been moving around some of the ornaments of that dinosaur adventure park. This is now, I think, the only circuit in the world. There it is, with a Stegosaurus above the podium. If you are aware of any other circuit on Earth that has that feature, we would like to know.
Please tweet us at Double Dash
Or, you know, I think we should have a competition. If there's any, you know, people there who are good with the photo editing software, I want to see Stegosauruses above other prominent podiums around the world. You know, there's your challenge for you folks. There we go. We've got the proper. There is the plane poised on the edge of Ryasic Park. And our very own producer, James Fitcher, got a decent photo of you yesterday there, mate, where it looked like there was a very low-flying aeroplane over you as you went through stadium section.
Yes, and I was turning away from it because I am sick to the back teeth of the sides of planes.
Yes. So plenty of interesting furniture, but our focus, of course, is on the Rye House circuit itself. And I was talking a few minutes ago about the starts here and how they can get a bit clumsy. Just to explain that, for any of you who are Formula One fans, this circuit's turn 1 and 2 is basically the karting world's best impression of the Chinese Grand Prix circuit.
Yes.
Although, to be fair to all parties,
Rye
House had it first. Exactly, this one was first. So that's something to bear in mind. But the turn here, you know, general formula, you have a race start, you work your way through to the initial heavy braking zone, and all is fine. Obviously, there's things like, you know, when we go to Wilton Mill, you've got to navigate through turns 1 and 2, get up the hill, and then you've got the braking into Christmas. But generally speaking, at a race start, you've got a braking zone for which you have a braking point. And so long as everybody's relatively sensible and we don't all miss our braking points, then it sort of goes to plan. There might be a few love taps here and there, but it generally gets underway okay. Here what you have is you have this swooping right-hander that gradually tightens, and sort of midway through it, it's possible to get through these two turns without braking, but it's not really it can unsettle a kart, or certainly in a race start situation, it's not really necessarily the best way to get round there. And you've got, obviously, it's a race start, so everyone's not quite on the right racing line, so they're all calculating in their head, ooh, do I have to brake a bit more? How do I adjust what I do to maintain my position here on track? And it just can get a little bit clumsy. No one quite knows when they're going to slow down, and because you're on a corner that's gradually tightening, you get little taps. There's not a lot of runoff at that first corner, so it can get just a little bit tight as they come through that section, and then they're all heading down towards the first major braking zone, which is hairpin 1, which is I almost think to the uninitiated Rye House karter, that is go for it central at the start of a race. It is that if you play a racing simulator, that is the point where you go, I'm going to go on the inside. No one else will think to do that, and I will overtake 10 karts at once, and everything will be great. And who am I to say that won't happen? But I've never seen it pay off in quite the way that perhaps the driver imagined. And again, that's an interesting hairpin because it's tight on entry and then widens slightly on exit. So that's quite that makes it a difficult start. And this circuit is quite narrow and tight at the best of times. So we are going to see, the creme de la creme come out onto the circuit, as I always say, the elites and clubmans. You would hope that they are going to get this really hooked up nicely at the start, because they all know what the deal is. We visit Rye House very regularly in Club 100, and it's not the first time we've visited this year, indeed. So if everyone's got their sensible head on this morning, we shouldn't have issues. But it's one of those circuits where it's perhaps unrealistic to predict we won't get any start incidents at some point during the day's action. It's similar in that sense to Red Lodge. Red Lodge is just one of those tracks where when I'm starting a race here, at least, mate, my mind is just a little bit more focused than usual on get it, keep it clean, just keep on going, don't, just keep your wits about you. More so than other circuits.
How far around the circuit? Sorry,
I was just talking about Stadium and the run down to Hairpin 1 and getting through there all cleanly.
Can I talk about Pylon?
Oh, please talk about Pylon, which we want to make clear is Pylon as in telegraph pylon, not pile on. It's not an instruction to the drivers, okay?
Although you could say you need to pile on the pace through Pylon.
You do, yeah.
I wanted to talk about Pylon because me and Pylon had a love-hate relationship yesterday. It feels quick through there. The trouble is, careful, mate. You're gonna kick over on me, cable.
Thank you. Health and safety in the comms box.
But there is a big nasty bump on the entry to Pylon at the moment, which I think in sprints you can get away with because it's sprint racing and it's a little bit shorter. But my back's not feeling too good this morning after 40 minutes of smashing myself on that bump yesterday. But I just say it out there because especially when we get into the afternoon sessions and the less experienced drivers, that is a very tricky corner at the moment, because you hit that bump, the back end of the cart likes to step out on you, and you've got to brake so there's the left-hand entry into Pylon, and then it's a tight right-hander. Yeah. You've got to get yourself round and get the speed down to control the cart through that corner. So I think that's going to be a key area of the circuit today, because itself is an overtaking opportunity. It's a brave opportunity to overtake, but an opportunity nonetheless. And it does also set you up for the last part of the circuit, which is key, of course, for coming down the pit straight. So I'm going to say that is the most crucial corner out there on the circuit today.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree, mate. It's Pylon and going into... I like to call it by name, but I don't think many other people do. The right-hander there is called Complex Nouvelle.
Yes.
So if I say that, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what a lot of people call Pylon 2, which is the left and right at the top of the circuit. I'm trying to think of a sort of analogous corner in sort of world motorsport. The only one that's striking me at the moment is like sort of a bit like Sakir in Bahrain, that middle left-hander going onto the back straight, where you've got a sort of, it's not the same because it's not left-right, but there's a little corner before the main corner, yes, and that makes it harder.
Yes, because you've got to brake and turn at the same time.
Yes, and then they go through the S's, which is sort of, I don't know why it's called the S's really, because it's barely a right out of Complex Nouvelle. It's basically the end of that corner, then through a left, and then there's the mandatory corner titled Paddock Bend, and that then brings them down to finish the lap.
And we will see cone penalties there today.
Yep, that is a standard to see.
The curbs through that last little part of the circuit, pretty big. And as such, there have been cones put in place to stop the drivers, well, at least give them a reason not to be mounting those curbs, because you hit the cone, and the cone means?
Penalties, and penalties to the tune of 4 places, yeah. Sorry if you passed me then for the exact number. I suddenly dried up. I went, it's a penalty. But yes, right. Elite Heat 1 are now out there doing their little practice laps that they do, just to make sure they're all happy with their Club 100 go-karts, arrive and drive karts as they are. So they've just jumped into these for the first time today.
Just to mention, these high number of practice laps will only happen in the first heat.
Yep, good point, good point. Red plates on the karts, which is what tells you that you're watching the elites. And if you want to follow along with the live timing, then head over to live.alphatiming, that's spelled with a PH on alpha, to alphatiming.co.uk/club100, or simply go to live.alphatiming.co.uk and click on Club 100. You don't need to bother with the www. And you will find all of the live timing that we have here in the box. Now, when you look at that for elites, you will see a mixture of red plates and black number plates here. And black number plates, unless you're going to correct me, Andrew, are the novices, the newcomers to the elites. He's giving me the thumbs up, so that is going to be correct. We need a wire tidy in this comms box today, don't we? Also, there is a circuit map showing you the 800 metres of the Rye House Kart Raceway. And once the racing gets underway, there will be a little driver tracker. Any penalties, not that there'll be any, will come up on the right-hand side of the screen as well, and you can see how much is left of the session and which session is in progress. So our advice is to obviously keep your Alpha Live stream going here, and at the same time on an additional screen or device, get the live timing up. So
practice coming to an end now.
Sorry, Andrew. Yep.
So the grid will form up. 25 points, we should say, available in this heat, all the heats. And here is your grid for the first heat of the day in the elite sprint class, round 9 of their 2018 championship here in Club 100. Daniel Healy will start from pole position then. Steve Hicks on the outside of the front row. Current championship leader Joe Holmes will start from P3. Dan Truman alongside him on the second row. Second place in points at the moment and leading in the rookie stakes is Rob Newman. He starts his day from P5. Alongside him on row 3 is Chris Dixon. Row 4 is Daz Teal and Ed Bars. Row 5 will be Jack Bolton and Dave Longman, who's looking for a good result here today. Row 6, former champion, currently 5th in points. Steve Brown starts this race from 11th on the grid alongside Peter O'Connor, who looked pretty quick in that practice session, I must say. Kept an eye on a couple of his times. He'll start this race from P12. Jay Elliott, currently high up there in the points, winner at Shenington, starts from P13. Peter Harris will start alongside him on the 7th row on P14. Row 8 is Harrison Darville and Harry Neal, and then Rob Moore is all by himself on row 9. It's a 17 kart field, Howard.
Absolutely, and that's 17 of some of the best, or the best field of Club 100 karters in the country, nay the world. This the highest of classes within Club 100 sprint racing, so expect plenty of action and phenomenal pace, it has to be said as well. Just looking at the lap times we've already seen and comparing them against what we saw yesterday in endurances, Andrew. The pace, I know it's a slightly different kettle of fish, but the pace really is something else in this class.
Good morning to Craig Brown and Luke Hornsby, who've liked the stream. Do share the stream, get it out there. We are ready for racing. We're ready for action here at Rye House, so please do share the stream on Facebook. Let your friends and family know that we're set here for round 9 of the Club 100 Sprint Championships for 2018. Andrew Mather and Howard Mitchell from Double Dash Motorsport Media in the comms box for you all day. On this Alpha live stream, you'll see the drivers are now going around the oval format, the dry oval as opposed to the dirt oval to our left of the Rye House Kart Raceway. They will of course take a tighter line through the Exeter Stadium and go towards the hairpin. This is what we do for the rolling up laps, gets races started a bit quicker, and I think we are about ready for the off here at Rye House for the first race of the day. Engine notes rise, watch the lights, pusher cart pulls away, we are green, we're racing at Rye House for round 9 of the Club 100 Sprint Championships, and Dan Healy gets a very good start into turn 1. He's got the whole shot, and I think Holmes has nicked through into second place past Steve Hicks.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's a bit of the bumping and barging that we did talk about as they break into hairpin 1 for the first time. Delighted to say they're all through cleanly there.
Couple of them running wide out of hairpin 1, but everyone's kept it in track limits. But yes, it's going to be Dan Healy leading from championship leader Joe Holmes. Cone penalty already for Chris Dixon in the midfield. Rob Newman there in 4th place, trying to get past Steve Hicks in 3rd. that was a pretty clean start, Howard, for the elites.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was talking about earlier, that you'd hope that out of any of the classes, these are the ones who are going to get it right. As
Steve Hicks under pressure from Rob Newman.
Absolutely, and Newman wants to be on the move here because he really wants to get up and challenge Joe Holmes in second place, who he is fighting with at the top of this championship. And he goes for the move, and nicely done. That is textbook.
He's going to cut back, though.
Yeah, Hicks gets the run back out and gets the place back. And that's some of the cat and mouse. I said overtaking was difficult, but it does provide good dogfights here at Rye House. You get some good battles going on, and that was a good example of how it can ebb and flow between drivers. Oh, that was a nice move there. Was that Jay Elliott?
Jay Elliott up the inside. He's gained a lot of positions on this lap. I think he's gained about 6 positions on this lap. Let's check that as it comes over start-finish. It's Healy from Holmes, Hicks, Newman, and Newman up the inside and going through Stadium and into third. What a great move that was by the leader in rookie and second overall. Rob Newman up to third, but will Hicks try and fight back here? No, I don't think he will. And just to check, yes, Jay Elliott up to 8th place then on that last lap. Very impressive stuff.
Yeah, lovely stuff there from both Jay Elliott and indeed Rob Newman there into turn 1. That demonstrating the 2 textbook overtakes, actually, I think, at Rye House in the last lap, of trying it up the inside of hairpin 1 and then trying it up the inside of Stadium, the first corner. The only one we haven't seen him demonstrate so far is the pylon attempt, which, as we say, takes quite a bit of guts. There's this 3-car pack and indeed the rest of the pack across the line at the end of that. And who's that going up the inside? That's Peter O'Connor on the up the inside of Chris Dixon, and trying to buy into that as well as Jack Bolton in the 17.
Dixon, we know, has a penalty already. Yellow flag out down at hairpin 1 for replacement of a bollard. No one spun out, that's clear now, and away we are back to green.
Absolutely, as they come here along the back straight. Bolton on the back of Chris Dixon here, looking to get up into the top 10 here. Can try sometimes a move into paddock there, but Bolton electing to hold station there and see if he can't get a run on Dixon into turn 1. And you know he is going to be close enough to try it, and he is going to try it, but it's going to be bold there to make that work. And he's got to be careful here, Andrew, because this is the definition of a class where if you get put offline and it doesn't pay off for a move, you're going to be vulnerable immediately from karts behind you. And in this case with Jack Bolton, it's the likes of Ed Bars and David Longman who are right on their tail.
Did we mention a fastest lap of the race has just gone in from Rob Newman of 42.411. We were seeing 42.1s earlier in the practice sessions. We know there's a bit more pace there, but the karts are full of fuel. There is your leader of the race, Dan Healy, ahead of Joe Holmes. Rob Newman still third, Steve Hicks in fourth, and Dan Healy, who started the season very well in Buckmore Park but has had a bit of an up and down time so far, currently 10th in points. Should be a good start to the day for him, but he's being challenged now by Joe Holmes, who's right on his tail coming through hairpin 2. Curb warning for the 4th place driver Steve Hicks. Here we go into pylon and then complex Nouvelle. But Dan Healy doing a very good job right now, Howard, of soaking up the pressure from the championship leader.
Yeah, and bit of housekeeping. Curb warnings coming in for both Steve Hicks and Ed Bars. So drivers using the maximum amount of track they're allowed to, and perhaps a little bit more than the stewards would like.
Another fastest lap of the race from Rob Newman, and look at this is Ed Bars fighting with Dave Longman, the number 20 there in the blue suit and the white helmet. Code penalty for the leader! And just as we said, as he was soaking up the pressure, Dan Healy makes the mistake, and Ed Bars is looking up the inside of Dixon there. Dixon runs a little bit deep and runs wide and is off circuit. Now let's see what happens here through hairpin 2. Dave Longman's going to stick his nose at the inside. That's a brilliant move by Dave Longman, and he's going to get the run down the back straight into pylon. That's a fantastic couple of corners from Dave Longman, using all of his experience here around Rye House. He's been doing Club 100 karting for about 5 or 6 years now, and that, I have to say, Howard, was a fantastic move.
That was fantastic. Brilliantly judged series of corners there. And can I just say as well, going side by side, Chris Dixon and Ed Bars on the back straight there into pylon. So many times you'll see that and it can end in tears. But good, well judged by all the drivers for giving the racing room. But yeah, Longman there had the great judgment there. And Rob Moore, who started at the back of this one, although he does run very wide there, is now on the scene and has just put himself past Ed Bars. Ed Bars now falling back into the clutches of Peter Harris there in the sort of Iron Man tribute helmet there, but we're back here with the front. Our leader on the road is Dan Healy, but he's not the leader in the official standings, or won't be come the end of this race, because he has a penalty. And now, Andrew, if Joe Holmes feels he has the pace over Dan Healy, he's really got to get on and get past here, because Rob Newman's not going to take the pressure away from Holmes here at all.
2 minutes to go, so I think we've got at least 3 laps here. Can Rob Newman get the slipstream behind Holmes and Healy and start to close in? I think he is. That looks a lot less than 0.8 of a second as they went down the back straight there. Here's number 3.
Oh, and another move from Jay Elliott there. Is that not there?
Yep, past Truman.
Yes, it was Truman, yes. Good move there. So that also means that Truman has dropped
behind Steve Brown as well.
Brown. And there's the 6 of Peter O'Connor, who's going well in 9th place.
Leaders coming into hairpin 1 as we watch Jay Elliott there starting to, well, not starting, he's continuing to make his way through the field. The gap is less than half a second between 2nd and 3rd now, and a lot less than half a second. Look at that. Rob Newman is absolutely flying here. He's just set a 42.263. Joe Holmes is continuing to do personal bests in this race, but he simply can't get past Dan Healy right now.
Yeah, and remember, Dan Healy has that penalty, so when Rob Newman challenges Joe Holmes, that is effectively for the lead of the race. Dan Healy effectively being a bit of a pace cart for this lead battle. As we look further back at Steve Hicks and Steve Brown, who are effectively contesting 3rd place here with Healy's penalty to be applied. So we cut back to Healy, still with Holmes on his tail. Through hairpin 2 they go, on to the back straight. And don't forget, whilst we've spoken about how these heats determine your grid for the trophy final, there is also championship points on offer, 25 of them for the winner of this race. So absolutely, Rob Newman is not only chasing Joe Holmes because he wants a good grid spot later on, he is after the points here.
On to the last lap then. There was about 20 seconds to go of this 8-minute race. Dan Healy leads on the road, but as we say, he has a cone penalty. So Joe Holmes is your effective leader. Rob Newman right there in 2nd place, still in the 42.2s. But I think at this early stage of proceedings, he might just follow home, take the points to get the good position, or start to get the good position in the final. What have you spotted, Howard?
Steve Brown's just sent one up the inside into hairpin 2 of Steve Hicks and got the job done on corner exit. There you are, the change for 4th on the road, but 3rd in the actual standings. We need to look, though, back at the front here, because Dan Healy will cross the line in the lead, but Joe Holmes will take the win in Heat 1 for the elites. Rob Newman, in the end, finishes 4 tenths, well, nearly 5 behind Joe Holmes there. Steve Brown crosses the line, 4th on the road, but we reckon 3rd. 5th on the road, but 4th will be Steve Hicks. Then I think Dan Healy will slot in 5th place.
Yeah.
So then 6th, Jay Elliott, who had a really impressive race there. I think, Andrew, some really good moves there. Daz Teal in 7th, 8th for Peter O'Connor. Dan Truman was 9th, David Longman 10th. Then it was Chris Dixon, Rob Moore, Ed Bars, Peter Harris, Harrison Darville, Jack Bolton and Harry Neal to round out the 17 runners. Well, that was a nice little package of action to get the day started, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Good first race, that, from the elites. Just what we come to expect, and that is indeed the end of Heat 1. We'll have a look at some highlights through that race then. This was the race start, of course. Rob Newman putting the first move on Steve Hicks up the inside, but just couldn't get the speed off and got re-overtaken. Jay Elliott had a good run through the field as well from the back. Steve Hicks had to defend a lot in this one. This was Rob Newman going up the inside for 3rd place. Peter O'Connor putting a good move on Chris Dixon there into Stadium. Jack Bolton was looking brave out there as well. Good battle with Ed Bars along the way. But here was the story of the race, really. Dan Healy soaking up a lot of pressure from Joe Holmes before his penalty. But this was the move of the race. Dave Longman going up the inside of both Ed Bars and Chris Dixon through hairpin 2. A brilliant move there from the Big Cat Motorsport man. getting that position. Steve Brown had a late rally. Jay Elliott continued to make his way through the order. And that was the action from Elite Heat 1. So we'll go into Clubman Sprint Heat 1 now. We'll have a short practice session again, as this is the first time our Clubman drivers have been out on circuit. Well, unless they were in the open test session, of course. But in this part of proceedings, the first time they've been out on circuit. Quick reminder on the points situation in this one. James Taylor is your championship leader at the moment, ahead of Stefan Scully and John Watkins. Very, very tight between those three. Taylor currently leading on 1,074 points, Stefan Scully on 1,035, John Watkins on 989. So all to play for as they start their 9th round of their respective championship.
Might be a man to watch here is Darrell Lowe, given how fast he was going in the open test session this morning. He is in the number 10 kart, and as we said earlier, different coloured number plates for the different classes. You'll see me now on yellow plates for the Clubmans as they bed themselves in to the Rye House circuit today. Lovely, sunny, dry conditions here.
I'd say pretty much perfect conditions at the moment. It's not too warm out there.
No, and for the moment at least, it's not too warm in here in the comms box either.
It will not stay that way.
It won't stay that way. Do keep your comments coming in under the stream. And you can get in touch with us here. We do also have our Twitterage open here this morning, so if you would like to communicate with us that way, then by all means do that. We are at Double Dash MM for Double Dash Motorsport Media. That's how you can get in touch with Andrew and myself on the box. On the box? No, we're in the box. We haven't gone that mad yet. We're in the box. Providing the comms for this, your Alpha Live stream of round 9 of the 2018 Club 100 Sprint Championship. Lovely to have you along. So in a moment, the checkered flag will wave for these warming up laps, and then we will go into the rolling up laps, where the pusher carts, the pace cart, will. That's notable. Not the first time in Elites actually. The last race, nobody had an incident that left them stranded in the last race.
Correct.
So that's not something one can say of every single race in Club 100 racing. So that was very good to see. Very good racing there by the Elites. How well can the Clubmans do? This effectively your tier below the Premier. That's one in the jar.
Oh,
the
did
Elites.
You say the P word?
I said the P word. In the Elites. So this is the tier below. So this is the first of the invitation classes, as it were. So one comes into Club 100. If you're watching and you think, I'd like to do that, then absolutely, by all means, you should definitely get involved. Lightweights and heavyweights, which we'll have this afternoon, those are the entry point in as the checkered flag waves and we go into rolling up. So we'll be giving you a grid in a moment. Lightweights and heavyweights, and then drivers who rise up through those categories will move up on into the Clubmans. Let's go with your grid for Clubman's Heat 1. On pole for this one is going to be Andrew Dawson, and he's going to have David Whitehouse alongside him on the front row. Simon Lloyd will start this one from 3rd place. He'll be in the 18, and it's the number 7 of Stuart Osborne lining on 4th. James Martin will be 5th on the grid, and then moving up from the lightweights, making his Clubman's debut here today, is Freddie Fincham. He'll be in the 43. Paul Jennings and Stefan Scully make up the 4th row of the grid. Scully, of course, one of our drivers at the sharp end of the standings in this class, so it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on here. Frankie Hedges in 9th, and Chris Powell round out the top 10. James Taylor, our points leader in this class, is 11th on the grid, and he has John Watkins, who's also at the sharp end of the points. He starts 12th. Luke Hornsby, he starts 13th in his distinctive red, white and blue colour schemed helmet and suit. Martin Theodorou 14th, and then on the 8th row, rounding out the 16-car career, Stephen Jennings and Darrell Lowe. It'll be interesting to see how he goes from the back of this one. Out of Complex Nouvelle they come. I think that's a thumbs up we can see from the pusher cart driver. So when they come round here, this paddock bend, it's going to be eyes on the lights. We're going to be good for a go, I think. Pusher cart driver pulls off to the side. Eyes to the lights. Engine notes rise, and Andrew Dawson leads them away into stadium. Into turn one they go. Chucking in the carts. Can they get through this one cleanly? Looks good so far, but here's where it tightens up. Through they go. Dawson's been able to hold on to it, and Whitehouse indeed has been able to hold on to second, but he's under pressure there. I think that might have been Simon Lloyd throwing it up the inside there as they head into hairpin 2. Looks to all be clean so far as they come onto the back straight, heading towards Pylon. Side by side, as is fairly typical, but it's James Martin who's got up to that second place. Apologies for that. Brilliant move by Martin there, who started 5th on the grid. He's managed to get from 5th to 2nd. That's how you do a race start at Whitehouse. As they cross the line at the end of the first lap, then it's Andrew Dawson, James Martin up 4 places, David Whitehouse, Freddie Fincham, Paul Jennings, Simon Lloyd, Stephen Scully, Frankie Hedges, James Taylor and Chris Powell rounding out the top 10. Darrell Lowe up 3 places from the back in that lap as well. So good opening lap from him.
Very, very impressive start that from James Martin. And just what he needs at the moment, 8th in points before the start of today. So this 8-minute heat plus 1 lap. It's a good start for him. There's Stefan Scully, the 21, 2nd in points at the moment. He's already made up at least 1 position, possibly more. Let's check it as they come round at the end of lap 2 here at Rye House. Round 9 of the Club 100 Sprint Championships for 2018. It is James Martin leading in Clubman ahead of Andrew Dawson. David Whitehouse, Freddie Fincham on his debut already up to 4th place. Paul Jennings, Stefan Scully has made a position up there. And there's a move being done by Frankie Hedges, battling with James Taylor.
And I was just saying, there's been a little breakaway group of 5 carts here, to which I think Simon Lloyd was
Taylor to the inside of Howard Taylor to the inside of Frankie Hedges. So James Taylor already making his way up through the field. That's 8th place now for the championship leader.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stefan Scully now past Simon Lloyd will try and get onto the back of this top 5 group as there's another change going on there. Yeah,
Frankie Hedges has made his way back past James Taylor, so fighting back. John Watkins is up to 10th, Darrell Lowe 11th, Chris Powell down to 12th. This is the battle that we're looking at here. Martin Theodorou is in the back of that as well, in the blue suit and the white helmet with the black details. Battling with his old, and look at this battle for 3rd place. Freddie Fincham up the inside on his debut, fighting with David Whitehouse. Whitehouse is going to get back those side by side as they go down to Pylon, and Fincham is through. Great move that by Freddie Fincham.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Well judged with battle with Whitehouse there, and change for 3rd place, as you say, Andrew. James Martin, though, trying to break away here. Took himself to the front of this one. Fastest laps he's setting at the front, 42.824, not too shabby pace. And this is further down the field where you've got this fantastic cacophony of carts. This is from about 6th place down, or 7th place down there. We look back to the battle over 3rd. David Whitehouse clearly hasn't given up on that yet. And look at that, the back, battling into hairpin 1. Fair play to all these drivers so far, keeping it clean. Steve Jennings trying to buy into that battle as well between Fincham and Whitehouse. So it's all go here, Andrew.
Yep, approaching the midway point of this first heat for the Clubmans. There's Luke Hornsby in his very distinctive Union flag suit. Currently in 14th place, battling again. Whitehouse and Paul Jennings this time for 4th place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cone penalty for the leader.
Oh,
again,
gosh.
2nd race in a row that we've seen a cone penalty for the leader as Jennings starts to put the pressure on David Whitehouse into hairpin 2.
And Scully's arrived on the scene as well now, Andrew.
He has indeed, but what is going on today is side by side go Whitehouse and Jennings. Whitehouse gets a good run down into pylon. Holds.
look
Oh,
at Scully.
brilliant!
Lovely opportunistic move from Stephen Scully there. He's going to run it out there. There's another cone penalty, is that?
That's
for James Taylor.
Taylor.
Is that going to be an additional 4 places then?
No, it's different Jameses. James Martin and James Taylor.
Goodness me, sorry, yes.
And Fincham going for second place now, up the inside of Andrew Dawson.
But the effective lead, Andrew, if that penalty is for James Martin.
Correct.
So this is the effective battle for the lead here between Fincham and Dawson. And meanwhile, David Whitehouse having to defend against Stephen Jennings, and Scully. Jennings now trying to get past. They're going side by side into hairpin 2 behind these guys. Sorry for talking about stuff off camera. And who's that who's taken advantage?
It's the number 18 of Simon Lloyd, who's actually got both of them through hairpin 2.
Brilliant stuff there. Fantastic opportunism there from Simon Lloyd. Now goes in pursuit of 4th on the road, effective 3rd place.
Back with the battle for the effective lead, 2nd on the road, but we know James Martin has a cone penalty. What a debut this is from Freddie Fincham, the driver who's had 4 years in lightweights. He's going to go up the inside into hairpin 1. What a move! And there's a contact warning, but that was obviously for something else. But Freddie Fincham is through into 2nd place on the road, and at the moment he's going to win on his debut in Clubman.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. I've got to say, that was beautifully positioned as well, Andrew. You can't really say that he used too much of the runoff out of hairpin 1. He kept it just on the line. Brilliantly positioned, brilliantly judged move there by Freddie Fincham for the effective lead. Not sure if he'll be aware that it is for the effective lead.
Oh no! Oh no! What is going on today with these leaders? There's a battle involving James Taylor and Chris Powell. There's contact. There's contact through stadium. And look at that, on the inside is Frankie Hedges in the number 13. This is a crazy start to the day for the Clubmans. And Powell runs a little bit wide. There's contact between him and Taylor coming off hairpin 1. Hedges is on the inside. He's got a cone penalty now. There's cone penalties everywhere. This is crazy.
And Chris Powell has somehow kept it in there and has got past. He's now got past the 13 of Frankie Hedges now, who also has a cone penalty, and he's now trying to get past James Taylor, who also has a cone penalty. At the front of this one then, James Martin, who's 1st on the road, has a cone penalty. Freddie Fincham, who's 2nd on the road, has a cone penalty, which means your actual leader in reality is Andrew Dawson, who himself is trying to challenge Freddie Fincham, because unless he knows Fincham's number or saw him punt the cone, he's not going to know that he has a cone penalty.
I'm going to say it for the first time since BUKC back in April. Leave my mate Colin the Cone alone.
And I'm wondering, Andrew, where this is. Are we talking about these cones on the pylon apex there?
No, I think we're talking.
Or are we talking about the one here in S's as well?
No, I think we're talking hairpin 1.
Okay. So,
who's leading this race?
Andrew Dawson's leading this race, Andrew, with 1 minute to go. That wasn't the last lap called, so it'd be this one plus another, I would have thought, as there's curb warnings for Martin Theodoru and Luke Hornsby in their battle over 13th place.
Here it is on screen.
What's happened to Stephen Jennings as well? He's got a cone penalty as well, so never mind. So he's at the back and has a cone penalty. So it's gone rather bad there for Stephen Jennings. Oh, blimey. Right, we're looking at Luke Hornsby, who's just had a curb warning in his battle with
Frankie Hedges. Over 13th place.
Who also has a cone penalty.
Yep. Martin Theodore just ahead of them there in 12th. Back with championship leader James Taylor. He's also got a cone penalty in this one.
Yep.
He's trying to get past Chris
Powell.
Powell. David Whitehouse, using all of his experience, at the moment is on for 2nd place in this heat.
You know what? At this rate, he'll win this one just by not hitting anything. But at the moment, he has the pressure from Simon Lloyd and Stephen Scully behind.
We're on the last lap now.
Yep, we are. The leader on the road, James Martin, just coming onto the back stretch now. David Whitehouse goes defensive into hairpin 2, but that might leave him vulnerable onto the back straight, and that'll give Lloyd an opportunity. They'll go side by side here, but you'd have thought Whitehouse will stamp his authority through the left-hander of pylon and hold on to it. Indeed, he does. Can Scully capitalise on this, though, coming out the corner? We need to look back to the start-finish, though, as our leads will be coming through.
And there goes James Martin across start-finish. Freddie Fincham goes across as well, but Andrew Dawson, by my calculations, will be classified the winner of that one on an account that he didn't get a cone penalty. Well, it's 25 points. It's a win in the bag. It's probably not the way you would have wanted to have done it, but they all count. David Whitehouse finishes 4th on the road. Simon Lloyd 5th. Stefan Scully 6th. John Watkins 7th. Paul Jennings was 8th. He had a good run early on. 9th was Chris Powell. 10th was James Taylor. So the championship leader Not the start he would have wanted. He also got a cone penalty along the way. 11th, Darrell Lowe. 12th, Martin Theodoru. 13th, Luke Hornsby. 14th, Frankie Hedges. 15th, Stuart Osborne. And 16th, Stephen Jennings. And
Sorry,
I don't even know
I've
what
just
to
seen an
say.
additional cone penalty come up for Freddie Fincham. I'm not sure if that's an additional one.
I hope
Oh,
not.
my goodness me. Well, what a way to start the action in Clubman today.
Let's have a look at some replays of that
back.
one.
So here was the early action then. James Taylor in the 29 trying to make his way through. It was the usual stuff for the first lap. Lovely move this from James Martin for what was then the lead of the race on Dawson, who was our pole sitter. Plenty of action throughout the race here. This was action between Hedges and James Taylor, but it really was a story of people hitting the cones, earning some fantastic. And this battle between Freddie Fincham on his Clubman's debut with Dave Whitehouse, and Paul Jennings was in there as well. But it was all a case of, I think David Whitehouse had a fantastic run there, Andrew.
Yep.
He absorbed the pressure so well. He had some fantastic battles. Here he was on one of the many occasions that he held onto a position coming into Complex Nivelle. This, the move between Freddie Fincham and Andrew Dawson for what was then the lead of the race, and then he himself got the cone penalty. No, this the move, sorry, that Fincham getting past Dawson. But then he subsequently got the cone penalty as well to give Dawson the win. It was just epic battling, but obviously going off too much and hitting too many cones.
So we're getting ready for the second heat then of the elites, as we watch a few more replays from Clubman. More defensive driving from David Whitehouse. This was really well managed because I thought he was going to lose it, but just stamps his authority, as you said, Howard, through that corner.
And the run that Scully got off that corner, I genuinely thought we'd cut back to the start-finish line to pick up the leaders winning the race.
Yeah.
And I thought we were going to see David Whitehouse sort of coming off wide round paddock and everyone getting past him because of the pressure that had mounted on him there. But no, managed to hold on to it there. Really good job.
Here we go then into Elite Sprint Heat 2 for round 9 of the Club 100 Sprint Championships for 2018. Here is your grid for the second race for the elites today. Dave Longman will start from pole position, having pulled off move of the race in Heat 1. Alongside him on the front row is former champion Steve Brown. Peter O'Connor and Jay Elliott will start from the second row. Jay Elliott put in some very impressive overtaking manoeuvres in the first heat, so look out for him. Peter Harris and Harrison Darville will start on row 3. Harry Neal and Rob Moore will start on row 4. Rob Moore in his very distinctive, almost like a Jensen Button 2009 style helmet. Look out for him. Dan Healy won the race on the road but got a penalty which lost him that 25-point victory. He starts this one from P9. Alongside him on the 5th row is Steve Hicks. Joe Holmes and Dan Truman will start on row 6. Rob Newman and Chris Dixon will start on row 7. Daz Teal and Ed Bars will start on row 8. And Jack Bolton wraps out the 17-cart field on row 9.
Absolutely. So this is the second race of the day for our elites, Heat 2. Another randomly generated grid. And they formed it quickly, Andrew. Are we ready? No, we're not quite ready for a start.
No. Let's have a couple of hellos and thank yous. Hello to Rich Crawford, who says, nice one, Dave W. Dave Whitehouse on track. Good morning as well to Chris Brassett and Chris Alcock, who've joined us on the stream. So morning, guys.
Good to have you along.
Thank you for letting us know you're here through the medium of the Facebook. Getting ready then, tyres being warmed up for this second heat for the elites out of 3. It's a steady start to the day. It was a good race for the first one. It wasn't as crackers as the Clubman one we've just seen. I expect to see the same again from the elites in this one.
Still no one's come to, I mean, it should be expected from these two classes, but still no one come to a stop yet, Andrew.
No.
Lovely to see.
And not quite sure what's happened there. We've gone green, but the pusher cart's not pulled away.
Right.
So that didn't go
that's
right.
That's going to be an aborted start almost immediately. That's a new one. I've seen it.
No, I think we've gone green. Apologies, folks.
Well,
yeah,
that's going to. That's surely going to upset quite a lot of the drivers there towards the back, because they were confused and hesitated to get up. Yeah, they picked him up again. They have picked him up. There's the full start flag, the green flag with the yellow chevron, downward chevron, showing that we are going to do that one again. Not quite sure what happened. That's we keep referring to it whenever these sorts of things happen. There was a bit of a Paul Ricard
ELMS, whatever year it was.
Yes, the one where the lights went green, but the pace car didn't pull into the pit lane and caused quite a bit of carnage.
Just going to check that we're not going for a start on this one.
I think we are.
Yes, we are. Green lights. Away we go in Elite Heat Sprint 2. Good start from Dave Longman. Can he hold the lead into Turn 1? Peter O'Connor's fishing around there trying to get second place as they come through Stadium. It is indeed. Steve Brown's had a brilliant one, and he's up into second place already.
So is Peter Harris, Andrew, up to third.
But no, Steve Brown has fought back there, hasn't he, to get second place back. Oh, there's all kinds of bumping and barging in the mid-pack of the field as they go into hairpin 2. They've all made it round somehow. Steve Hicks is involved in there. Joe Holmes, Dan Healy, Harrison Darville, all there. Daz Teal's getting forced out wide and losing a couple of positions as they come through Complex Novell on a fraught first lap. Oh, and off. Who's that? Can't quite make out the number. 28 has got a contact warning. It's
someone else as well.
Joe Holmes is in trouble.
Joe Holmes is off.
Championship leader is in trouble on the last corner. Chaos here on the first lap in Elite. It's Dan Truman. Dan Truman off down at the Complex Novell corner. Dave Longman still has this lead though. Peter O'Connor's forced his way up into second place. And Steve Brown's losing positions there. I think he's lost out to Harry Neal as well. This is a fraught start as they head down. And a penalty now for Jay Elliott. Well, it's all broken loose here in the Elites in the second heat. Dave Longman soaking up the pressure though there in the lead.
We'll just hesitate on that penalty for Jay Elliott. Not coming up on timing in the way it did on our screen just then. But if so, that's expensive for him. David Longman then, and look at this. This is the number 5 of Dan Healy trying to get up the inside of, that's Harry Neal, was it?
Peter O'Connor. No, you're right.
Harry Neal, yeah. Curb warning for Chris Dixon as well. Not as tidy a start here as we saw before, as Harry Neal now challenging Peter O'Connor here for second place, and Steve Brown buying in as well. Lovely opportunistic move on the exit of hairpin 2. Gets past Harry Neal into third.
And the penalty confirmed on my screen, Howard. Jay Elliott for an ABC takeout. So that's going to be a substantial penalty for the driver at the start of the day, 4th in points.
Yeah, absolutely. That's confirmed now on my screen as well, mate. With Dan Healy here pressuring Peter Harris here for 5th place. Led, of course, Heat 1 before starting the trend we've seen so far today of leaders getting cone penalties, did Dan Healy. So he'll be hoping to finish higher than 5th place in this one. Steve Brown soaking up all the pressure from Harry Neal in the battle over 3rd.
Dave Longman doing a really good job here. He's just keeping it smooth, keeping it fast, and that's just not quite allowing Peter O'Connor to have a move up the inside.
Yeah, you can see O'Connor ducking his head, trying to get any drag that he can there, as behind them Steve Brown defends there as there's a penalty for Joe Holmes. It goes from bad to worse for Joe Holmes here. He's come to a stop, he's had a contact warning, and now he's had a cone penalty, which at the moment, Andrew, will mean that he finishes last, and I see no way of him repairing that. Steve Brown has a look at O'Connor here. It's a hairpin 2, that hasn't paid off, and that's going to allow Harry Neal through into 3rd place. Didn't pay off there for Steve Brown.
Now the crucial thing that I'm going to mention about Joe Holmes now is, let's be honest, this is going to end up being a drop score. It's going to be one of his 9 drop score heats through the year. But, you know, it gets tense at this stage of the season when those drop scores start to be used, as Peter O'Connor has a little half look at Dave Longman. But it's just starting to put the pressure there. And side by side, Peter O'Connor's through. Peter O'Connor is through. Dave Longman is no longer in the lead. Harry Neal's now fighting to try and take second place. But Peter O'Connor, well, that was a very bold piece of driving. Neal going around the outside of Brown. And Healy and Elliott are involved, but we know Elliott in the white suit, white helmet has got a substantial penalty. That forceful move there by Peter O'Connor through the latter part of, and up the inside goes Elliott on Healy. Not that that will matter for the final positions. Peter O'Connor now leading after a forceful move but a fair move up the inside of Dave Longman through Stadium Corner. Harry Neal's now looking up the inside of Dave Longman, and that was a textbook piece of driving by Harry Neal. He's now up to second place.
Beautifully done stuff there by Harry Neal, having a really good race so far. It is Peter O'Connor, your new leader as of this lap of this one, and you can just see how close it is. Is that another cone penalty for Joe Holmes? Oh dear me, as Jay Elliott goes up the inside of Steve Brown, but the case stays side by side here into paddock, held onto it. That was a nasty bump though over the curbs. He nor the kart will have enjoyed that for a moment, will Jay Elliott, as that's put Steve Brown on the back foot, and it allows Healy and Daz Teal through.
Look out for Daz Teal. He's looked very quick in the early part of this race. Steve Brown starting to go a bit backwards now, which is, I think, the first time I've ever said that. Ed Bars has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 42.291, but he's down in 13th place at the moment. And change for the lead. Sorry, Howard, we've missed that. Harry Neal has hit the front.
Fantastic stuff as Jay Elliott puts another move on into Complex Nouvelle, this time up the inside of David Longman, who's struggling to avoid going back here. He's now under pressure from Dan Healy. Further back, by the way, good battle happening between Peter Harris and Chris Dixon to get each other into the top 10, as Jay Elliott's just got a cone penalty, so it goes from bad to worse here, and Dan Healy goes up the inside of David Longman and Daz Teal. Oh, goodness me, it's all going wrong here for Longman. He just seems vulnerable, Andrew, at the end of that straight going into Stadium, and now Steve Brown comes on to apply the pressure to Longman, so not going his way here.
It is the classic thing with elites though, you lose one position, get offline, and immediately there's another driver with a lot of pace up the inside. Nothing Dave Longman could have done at that stage, and now, as you say, has got to resist former champion Steve Brown. So 1 minute and 35 seconds to go. Harry Neal leads. Peter O'Connor is second. Jay Elliott third on the road, but it has substantial penalties which will relegate him down the order. Dan Healy still there in fourth, so this is a very good start to the day for Dan Healy. Fifth place for Daz Teal, sixth Dave Longman, seventh Steve Brown. Further back, there's the battle for eighth place between Steve Hicks and Harrison Darville, and that was Hicks taking eighth place. So Hicks up another position. Chris Dixon's in there as well, wrapping out the top 10.
You know who's not been on the move this race, Andrew? Rob Newman. Still down in the battle between Chris Dixon, Peter Harris and Jack Bolton. Ed Barr's down there as well. He has not moved up in the way that perhaps he would have liked in this heat.
Apologies folks, timing was doing something strange there. I thought we'd just set a 30-second lap, but no, it's reset itself, so we've got this lap and one more to go. Harry Neal still leading from Peter O'Connor. He's looking fast though, isn't he?
He is, yeah. O'Connor putting all sorts of pressure here on Harry Neal. He's having to go defences to hairpin too, and that will leave him vulnerable. O'Connor will try and get alongside, but unless he's got a good enough run, it's not going to be on there, and indeed it's not. Jay Elliott third on the road, but with those penalties bear in mind. But of course he is a factor just by being there here. Dan Healy in a net third, but fourth on the road, and then Daz Teal rounding out this sort of five-kart breakaway group now.
On to the last lap then for Heat 2 in the elite class, round 9. And up the inside of Peter O'Connor goes Jay Elliott. Now that might have secured the victory then for Harry Neal, because now Harry Neal has a rear gunner in effect in the form of Jay Elliott. We know Jay Elliott has an ABC takeout penalty, which I reckon is going to put him on the outskirts of the top 10, and a cone penalty for that matter as well. But it does, yes indeed, look like Harry Neal is going to be, for the first time today, a driver coming over start-finish in the lead on the road, penalty-free, and it's going to take the win. Here he comes, number 11, Harry Neal takes Heat 2. A fantastic victory for the youngster, a big boost for him in his rookie campaign. He wins the race ahead of Jay Elliott, Peter O'Connor, Dan Healy and Daz Teal. Steve Brown, Dave Longman, who had a great defence for a long time in that one of the lead. In the end, he finishes in 7th. Steve Hicks finishes in 8th. Chris Dixon 9th. Harrison Darville 10th. Ed Bars in 11th with the fastest lap of the heat. 12th for Jack Bolton. 13th Peter Harris. 14th Rob Moore. 15th, Rob Newman in 14th. Rob Moore in 15th. Joe Holmes only in 16th. Not a good race for the reigning champion and 17th for Dan Truman, who was taken out down at pylon. Here we go then. So this was the confusing start where the pusher cart didn't pull away. We had a second go. Dave Longman got the hole shot and retained the lead. Steve Brown did a very good job to hold on to second place. Not many drivers do that. And then it all got a little bit pushy in the mid-pack. Dan Healy had a good race again. If he can get another good one in the third race, he'll be at the pointy end of the grid for the trophy final. Dave Longman continued to lead. Pressure coming in from Peter O'Connor. Before Harry Neal came to the fore, getting on past Steve Brown there as Steve Brown tried to go for second place. Peter O'Connor finally got past Dave Longman for the lead, and unfortunately for Longman that started a descent down the field as the drivers forced their way through. There was Harry Neal going by. Good battles between Jay Elliott and the field, but he got a substantial penalty which will take him down the order. There he was going past Dave Longman on the road. But it was Harry Neal who came to the fore and took victory in Heat 2.
Just one last thought on that one, Andrew. Interesting, I think, that whilst Joe Holmes did not have a great race there, neither really did Rob Newman. He didn't do damage, a lot of damage there. So sort of as you were in terms of the top two in the championship. Let's talk about this though. Here we go. Heat 2 of the Clubman class for round 9 of the 2018 championship. Frankie Hedges will start this one from pole. Chris Powell alongside him. James Taylor, your current points leader in this class, starts this one from third, and he has John Watkins alongside. Luke Hornsby in 5th place on the grid with Martin Theodori alongside. Steve Jennings, he will start this one from 7th with Darrell Lowe alongside on row 4. Andrew Dawson, our pole sitter and winner from the last race in this class, will start from 9th. And David Whitehouse will start from 10th place in this one. Simon Lloyd lines up 11th with Stuart Osborne alongside. James Martin will be 13th with Freddie Fincham alongside him in his 2nd ever heat in Clubman's, making his debut in the class today. And rounding out the 16-car grid is Paul Jennings, the other Jennings in the field, and Stefan Scully will be looking to make progress from the back of this one, sitting as he does 2nd in the points standings to James Taylor. So he wants to be a man on the move. Look for him coming up through the field in this one. Do keep your thoughts coming in on the Facebook stream. I'm going to confess I'm not entirely sure which Facebook stream is it that the comments are getting fed through to the box from. Which page? The Club 100. So if you're watching Facebook stream on Club 100 and you comment on that one gets beamed to the computer here, although Andrew is doing a fantastic job of keeping track of the comments under all of the Facebook streams. Well, you've looked. You're doing the Facebookage stuff today. So
good morning to Stephen Howes of Brighton University. We've got quite a few BUKC people.
Yep.
We've got some BUKC help on the cameras today as well.
Yeah.
Some of the
absolutely, yes.
guys from Loughborough University.
Yeah.
Who raced very, very well yesterday in the Enduros.
Yes, they did.
Are we ready for a race?
We are ready for a race. Pusher cart is going to go off to one side, and then it's going to be time to push for these drivers. Eyes to the lights, engine notes rise, and Frankie Hedges leads them away into turn 1. Will he hold on? Yes, he will. James Taylor is going to try immediately to go for 2nd place, but Chris Powell does a good job of hanging on as they work their way through. It looks to have all been clean there, which is good to see. Breaking into hairpin 1. Martin Theodorou trying to make moves there up the inside. It didn't work out. Challenge at the front, though. Chris Powell now trying to challenge Frankie Hedges here.
Oh, and Hornsby's
off goes Hornsby. But they're side by side for the lead of this one, going into pylon corner. But holding on to it is Hedges. He's managed to hold on, and look for James Taylor now, trying to take advantage now of Chris Powell going into the final part of the lap. I don't think he's going to make that work, though. So it's going to be as they started, coming across the line here. Frankie Hedges leads at the end of lap 1. Chris Powell 2nd. James Taylor, John Watkins, Stephen Jennings, Andrew Dawson, Simon Lloyd, Darrell Lowe, James Martin and David Whitehouse, your top 10 at the end of that first lap. Disappointment for Luke Hornsby, though, who went off.
Change for second place. James Taylor, championship leader, forcing his way through.
And Watkins followed through on that as well, Andrew.
And a bit of contact.
And Stephen Jennings is there in the red as well, trying to get past Chris Powell now, who's going to be vulnerable here, but manages to hold on to the inside of Complex Nivelle. He'll not get as good a run off the corner, though, but it doesn't go there, as there's a penalty for Andrew Dawson. Advantage by contact takeout, presumably, Andrew, for taking out Luke Hornsby.
Yeah, not a good day so far for Luke Hornsby. He's already 25 seconds off the back of the lead. Steve Jennings.
What we can say from that, Andrew, is Andrew Dawson will not win this race.
Yep.
As he did in the first heat. As Darrell Lowe there challenging Simon Lloyd, and James Martin there tries at the inside of him and gets the job done, and it's going to allow Freddie Fincham through as well. Beautiful bit of opportunism there, Andrew, reminiscent of what David Longman did in the Elites earlier today. Hey. As Martin gets a little bit leery there, and that's going to allow Whitehouse through as well as Darrell Lowe.
Another good move from David Whitehouse there. He had to be committed there to make that move. Sticking up the inside of James Taylor goes John Watkins. That's a fantastic bit of driving from John Watkins. Not many people have taken that kind of move on against James Taylor this season, but there we go. It's worked, and Chris Powell's trying to go around the outside of Taylor now. Taylor is all under attack here. Jennings three wide, and Powell's got straight round the outside. That's outrageous. Contact, and that was James Taylor getting into Steve Jennings. That could be a penalty for James Taylor.
And Andrew Dawson's coming through. Simon Lloyd's got past Freddie Fincham in all of that, I believe. It's all changed there. Simon Lloyd was already ahead of Freddie Fincham. They've both obviously got past Stephen Jennings as he drops down the timing sheets. Contact warning for Paul Jennings. But the question is going to be, Andrew, how do the marshals perceive that one, as Freddie Fincham goes up the inside of Simon Lloyd and has made it. No, it hasn't paid off from him. In fact, he's lost out there, I think, to Darrell Lowe. And
Chris Powell, now up to third place, is putting the pressure as Jennings gets going again.
What a place to get restarted. Right in front of the leaders. Oh, my goodness, and it's going to bulk the leaders even. Frankie Hedges. Oh, dearie me, that is an extremely unfortunate, not something that Steve Jennings had control over, of course, but what a place to get restarted. And I think doing the right thing there, Andrew, and just gets out of the way of the field. He knows that the race is run.
And there it is, a penalty for James Taylor for a takeout on number 14, Steve Jennings. And that's going to relegate him a long way down the road. 3 wide. It's a hairpin one, and my voice did a very weird thing there. I've never seen 3 wide. What a fantastic piece of driving again from Freddie Fincham. And he's past Andrew Dawson, and he's past Darrell Lowe. And that was Paul Jennings as well, wasn't it? Number 8 getting involved. This has been brilliant racing. It's been crazy racing so far in the Clubmans. Lowe's now trying to get past Dawson, and has so. Oh, I don't think I can take much more of this.
You're going to have to pace yourself, mate. There's a lot of action to go yet. I've never seen that happen. I've also never heard you make that noise. So as they come through here towards hairpin 1, this is the 33 of John Watkins in second place now, with Chris Powell right on the back of him. This, your battle for the lead. Look how close this is. Powell's going to try around the outside, as he did with James Taylor earlier on. James Taylor is now side by side with him, though, but Powell's presumably going to hold on to it, is he? Yes, he sort of shoves Taylor up, but Taylor's done it. But has that penalty, of course. And now Simon Lloyd comes onto the back of Chris Powell. So Powell there trying for second place has ended up dropping down to 4th on the road, but he's still a net 3rd with that penalty for James Taylor. And James Taylor, to be fair, just like we saw with Jay Elliott in the previous racing Clubmans, Andrew, he now just has to get as far up as he can to negate the penalty as much as possible, because the penalty is in positions, not time, in this format of racing.
2.5 minutes to go in the Crackers Clubmans, as I'm calling it for the rest of today.
And look, side by side for the lead there. John Watkins got his nose in front, but there was no opportunity on there into Pylon and Complex Nivelle, so it's as you were. But look at this, nose to tail, streaming through the last part of the lap. It's a beautiful representation of just how close it is in this type of racing.
Over start finish. I think there'll be 3 more laps to go.
The little
Hedges
look there.
starting to defend.
Hedges had the little look there, just that check of, is he coming up the inside?
Oh, Darryl Lowe's
off. Oh, dearie me. So Lowe's fallen off the back of this. Did we mention that Martin Theodorou had some kind of incident?
No, we hadn't.
So Martin Theodorou, or he's had something. He's 9.6 seconds behind the back of the Packers for the lead. James Taylor's got up the inside of John Watkins for the lead that battle, the battle overall. But James Taylor gets up into second ahead of John Watkins there. But it's a second on the road, not a net second at the end, as there's a contact warning for James Martin, who at the moment is having a battle with Stefan Scully further back down the field. Frankie Hedges, though, has held on to this one throughout, been doing a fantastic job, but he now has the pressure of the championship leader behind, as there's a battle between John Watkins and Chris Powell as well going on for effective second of the race. James Taylor having a look here for the lead on the road. He's had a good cutback technique coming out of hairpin 2, but there was nothing on there, and he stays on the back. Frankie Hedges has a look into pylon, but that would have been extremely bold stuff.
2 contact warnings also. Oh, Freddie Fincham's fallen down the order as well. So that's now 5 drivers that have been off in this one. You've cursed it, mate. You said nobody had fallen off. Now they're all
I'm not sure he
off.
has been off, actually, Andrew. I think he's just lost a lot of time. I'm not sure he's come to a stop at least.
Well, he's had a 1:03.
Oh,
That's 20 seconds slower than normal. We are on to the last lap. Frankie Hedges is trying to hold off here. A charging James Taylor, but we know Taylor has a penalty. John Watkins is still there. Chris Powell's still there. What a race he's had as Hedges comes through hairpin 2. Down into pylon. This is really the last opportunity.
Simon Lloyd's on the scene as well to pick up any of the pieces here if it comes to tears. I thought James Taylor was trying to sell a dummy there into hairpin 1, but Frankie Hedges held on as he has done all race. He's going to come round this last corner and cross the line to take a brilliant victory here. Frankie Hedges wins Heat 2 of the Clubmans for round 9 in 2018 of Club 100 sprints. James Taylor finishes second on the road but has a penalty to be applied for ABC takeout. John Watkins crosses the line third. Chris Powell fourth. Simon Lloyd fifth. All these drivers will benefit from James Taylor's penalty. Andrew Dawson in 6th, 7th for Paul Jennings, Stefan Scully 8th, 9th for David Whitehouse, 10th for James Martin. Then it's Stuart Osborne, Martin Theodorou, Freddie Fincham were now amongst the drivers who had some kind of incident or accident. Luke Hornsby 14th, 15th for Darryl Lowe, and Stephen Jennings, of course, finishes last after that incident with James Taylor up at pylon. Let's have a look at some of the highlights. Another bombastic race in the Clubmans. Here was the early action. Andrew Dawson there putting the move, and there was the takeout. I'm not sure we clocked that at the time. Captured by the cameras, though, takes out Luke Hornsby. So there's the penalty for that. Frenetic action at the front of this one. This was James Taylor and Chris Powell having a battle, and that allowed John Watkins to get up to the front. Here was James Martin battling with Darryl Lowe. Lowe would later have some incident that brought him to a stop at this very corner, but brilliant battling he was having up until then. David Whitehouse as well there getting past Martin. This was more battling between James Taylor and Chris Powell, and then this was the point with Steve Jennings getting involved. That would later end in tears up at pylon. Here's the battle between John Watkins. This was towards the end here, and Simon Lloyd did well to get up to the top 5 by the end of that one as well. Just absolutely crazy action there in the Clubman so far today.
And I've just had a look back through the official results from Heat 1. Here's an interesting piece of news that I think came in later on. James Taylor got another 2 positions for multiple pieces of contact. So currently our championship leader has a 13th and probably about an 8th. It's not come back through on the timing screen for what the official result for Heat 2 is. So we were talking about wide open championships. Probably the one that was the least wide open at the start of the day was Clubman.
Yeah.
That's changed. That has completely changed now, and it's going to be a very, very interesting last heat of the day and final for the Clubmans. Right, we're going into Elite Sprint Heat 3 then for round 9 of the Club 100 Sprint Championships here at Rye House. Jack Bolton will start this one from pole position. Rob Moore alongside him on the front row. Ed Bars and Harry Neal will starts on row 2. Neil having won Heat 2. He's having a very good day so far. Daz Teal and Harrison Darville will start on row 3. Chris Dixon and Peter Harris, who's had a quiet day so far in the first 2 heats, start on row 4. Rob Newman, fighting for the championship, starts this one on row 5 from 9th on the grid. Jay Elliott alongside him on that 5th row. Dan Truman and Peter O'Connor start on row 6. And it's championship leader Joe Holmes looking to bounce back after a not so good second heat. He starts alongside his championship rival and former champion Steve Brown on row 7. Steve Hicks and Dave Longman start on row 8, and then it's Dan Healy on row 9.
Well, it's been a really good day's racing so far. I'm sure if JV's still watching, there's Daz Teal's stationary there. Up at, is that Complex
Stadium?
Oh, it is Stadium. Good shout. That's why I can't see him, because
sorry,
right.
more Clubman news.
Okay.
It's just got worse for a championship leader. He's been excluded from Heat 2. So that's a developing story.
Which will make it one of his dropped heat scores come the end of this championship.
Yes, but no it won't, because he's missed 3 meetings.
Oh dear. Yeah, okay, so that's going to be quite expensive for him there. To explain, there are 3 rounds worth of dropped scores, and I say that because you can actually have a mixture of heats and trophy finals from various rounds over the year.
No, apologies, I'm going to take that back. He's missed 2 meetings.
Okay, all right.
But still, the point remains that a lot of his dropped scores get put on those 2 absent meetings for round 2 and round 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I'm sure if JV's watching, he'd like the Clubmans to clean up their act just a little bit. But on the whole, the elites that we now have with their red number plates have had it fairly clean so far. We're going to be good for a race start, Andrew.
And away we go, green for the final heat in elites here today at Rye House. Good start that for Jack Bolton into turn 1. Is Rob? Oh, there's someone's plate's just flown off.
Ed Bars to the front, Andrew.
Ed Bars to the front of the field then, the very experienced driver, gets locked up there into hairpin 1. Are they all going to make it through? Rob Newman's made a brilliant start. He's already up to, I think, 4th place, behind Rob Moore. But a ferocious start from the elites as they're all trying to squabble here for their grid positions in the trophy final. Daz Teal having a little look there at Rob Newman. The rest of them filing through at the end of lap 1. It is going to be the number 17 of Jack Bolton, who will... No, sorry, Ed Bars, of course, leading. Jack Bolton there in 2nd. Rob Moore 3rd. 4th, Rob Newman 5th. Daz Teal. Contacts warning for Peter Harris, the number 13, currently in 12th position.
And Harrison Darville didn't have a fantastic first lap there, Andrew. He's dropped back, according to timing there, quite a way. We're looking at Joe Holmes, who's just got past Chris Dixon. Here's Jay Elliott as well, and Steve Hicks battling it out. Jay Elliott will be hoping to do better than the last race, where he incurred a fair number of penalties to put himself back in the final standings. Currently running in 10th place, so that's the battle in the lower part of the top 10. We look back to the front though, and Rob Moore having a look at Jack Bolton here into turn 1. That's a bold move, and he makes it stick. Rob Newman's going to try and follow through. Is there going to be room? It gets mighty tight round there, and it's not going to work there, but Newman may have a look into hairpin 1 as well. But no, Bolton's good on the brakes there and manages to hold on, and it's allowed Rob Moore to not only get that move done as Rob Newman goes up the inside of hairpin 2. Lovely judge move, but that's going to slow them both down and allow Daz Teal to have a go. That's put Bolton back 3 places, and through has come Harry Neal and Joe Holmes as well.
I think it's Harry Neal who's the driver missing a number plate.
Yes.
Just in case any of you have spotted that. I think we saw it fly up in the air at Stadium. This is good news though for Ed Bars. He's had 1 heat win so far this season, 4 podiums, and a couple of one podium. Oh, penalty and a bump and pass
for Rob Newman.
That's on Jack Bolton, so that was the one into hairpin.
Joe Holmes,
look at that!
Up the inside of Harry Neal. Is he going to make that work? That was a lunge. That's amazing stuff from our defending champion. Fantastic move, and Jack Bolton still can't catch a break. He's now got Chris Dixon and Jay Elliott breathing down his neck. But yes, and I'll tell you what as well, Rob Newman did Rob Moore a lot of favours there, because it allowed Moore to not only make the move for second place, but also get a bit of a gap, which means he's now free to focus on trying to pass Ed Bars.
Rob Moore, on the other hand, has not had a heat win so far this season. He's had 1 podium and 3 top 5s. So this would be quite a moment for Rob Moore if he was able to overhaul Ed Bars.
Chris Dixon up the inside of Jack Bolton here into hairpin 1, and Jay Elliott's going to take advantage as well. Lovely opportunism on the switch back out of there, and he's got the job done, and even finishes with a little flourish there under braking into hairpin 2. Nicely judged there from Jay Elliott, as behind them this is Steve Hicks and the rest of the world battling over all the other places. You've got Dan Healy in there, Peter O'Connor, Peter Harris, they're all there.
Ed Bars continues to lead, but the gap is coming down. Rob Moore has got a lot of pace here. A 42.4 in that last lap. As up the inside goes Harrison Darville on the number 14 of Dan Truman. Dave Longman's trying to make his way through again as well. Here, back with your leaders. Ed Bars ahead of Rob Moore. Rob Newman in third, but we know he has a penalty. And then Daz Teal fourth, Joe Holmes in fifth.
Yeah, but Newman has been able to break the toe there of Daz Teal on this lap, and he's started to get onto terms with these top 2. So he may have a penalty to be applied, Andrew, but don't count him out as a factor at the front of this yet.
Down the pit straight, start of a new lap. 3 minutes 40 to go. There's your rookie elite championship leader, Rob Newman, third overall at the moment. But not the lead rookie in this race, because that's Rob Moore, the driver in the yellow and black helmet, the white and green suit, trying to make his own way past Ed Bars here. Contacts warning for Joe Holmes, sitting there in fifth place just behind Daz Teal and ahead of Harry Neal.
We've got these 2 little groups of 3, clumps of 3 drivers here. One the battle for first, and then the other the battle over fourth, although in reality this battle you're seeing now, led by Daz Teal in the 7, that's actually a battle for third because of the penalty that's going to be applied to Rob Newman. And I have to say, Joe Holmes looks like he might have a move here up the inside into the hairpin on Daz Teal. Indeed he does. We've seen him do this once already this race, but Teal is going to get the cutback, but Holmes will have the inside line. Well, can he do anything with it? He can't. So nicely held onto there by Daz Teal. Harry Neal didn't really take the opportunity to capitalise on that and pressure Holmes, so it stays as they were through Pylon and Complex Nivelle.
2.5 minutes to go here at Rye House. You're watching live coverage of the Club 100 Sprint Championships for 2018, round 9. Here is your battle for the lead. Ed Bars ahead of Rob Moore and Rob Newman. However, Newman has a penalty.
I'm not sure we've covered this, Andrew, but Steve Brown is effectively out of this race. He's 3 down as for the lead goes Moore. Lovely move. Will Newman follow through? He's not close enough to do so, but Rob Moore is going to hold on to it. He's defending into hairpin 2, I can see. We need to look at the back straight if possible, because Ed Bars is trying to come back at him here. Through into Pylon they go. It's all going on behind the
Oh, my goodness me.
Look at this. Rob Newman trying to get through Pylon and Complex Nivelle, and he's got the job done. Bars down to third place in about as many corners. And that was beautifully judged by Rob Moore. And now Newman's going to try and go for the lead.
Let him go, Rob.
Let him go, Rob. It's not for true position. Newman has the penalty to be applied. And now Rob Moore's back under pressure from Ed Bars. I suppose Newman would have been a good rear gunner for Moore, but he can just let him go, as we say. So Rob Newman front on the road, but Rob Moore taking the lead of this race.
Well, well, well. What a result this would be. Remember, this is a gentleman who a few seasons ago was super heavyweight champion in our open classes, which you can see from 1 o'clock this afternoon here on the Club 100 page with Alpha Live. He's done a lot of work. He's lost a lot of mass, got into Clubman's, did very well there, has been promoted into elite. He's never won an elite heat. But at the moment, with 40 seconds of this one to go, that might be about to change. Rob Newman, yes, has the lead on the road, but has a penalty. Rob Moore is there in second and would inherit that race win as things stand.
And whilst we were shouting and getting very excited about the lead battle, of course, the cameras were also showing us the battle going on over a net third place, and Joe Holmes and Harry Neal have got past Daz Teal for that now. So Joe Holmes will now, if possible, although he hasn't really got long enough to go, he's just set the fastest lap of the race. You can see him ducking his head. He wants to get onto terms with Ed Bars here, but he might run out of time to do it because we're on the last lap.
We are on the last lap. Rob Newman has the lead on the road. He's taken 3 heat wins so far this season. It won't be a 4th, though, because he has a penalty. Rob Moore in the yellow helmet with the Union flag on the back. He's there in 2nd on the road and will inherit this win. Ed Bars has driven fantastically. He's going to take a good haul of points, and I think he's going to get a good grid position out of this. It's going to be very, very close, actually, with the trophy final grid. We wait for that, but round the final corner, here comes Rob Newman down over the line, but Rob Moore takes his first ever win in Elites. It's a heat victory for the former super heavyweight champion. What a result for him. Ed Bars will take 2nd place. Joe Holmes will be next up. Then it's Harry Neal, Daz Teal, Jay Elliott, Chris Dixon, Jack Bolton, Peter O'Connor wrapping out the top 10 on the road. Steve Hicks, Peter Harris, Dan Healy, Dan Truman, Dave Longman, Harrison Darville, your finishers, 16 finishers. Steve Brown, a retirement in 17th.
Yeah, not what Steve Brown would have wanted, of course. You don't get dropped scores, as it were, in deciding the trophy final grid. So that will be expensive for him. Let's have a look back, Andrew.
Race start. You had Bolton on the left of your screen, got a really good start. Ed Bars nicking through there and actually taking the lead later in the lap. Everyone filing their way through, so it was Ed Bars leading early on. Rob Moore, really good move up the inside of Jack Bolton, got him up into 2nd place, and that was a key move in the story of the race. Rob Newman got a penalty for that move, a bump and pass and use of the curb, which in the end lost him the heat victory, as this was an audacious dive from Joe Holmes, but it actually worked. He got the speed on the exit of the corner and took that position. Peter O'Connor was making his way through the order as well. Chris Dixon having a battle here with Jack Bolton, who I don't think got the result that he would have wanted, having started on pole position. Harrison Darville had a good battle there, getting through Stadium. Daz Teal lost a position to Joe Holmes as well, but got it back later in the lap. Now, this was the key move. Rob Moore up the inside of Ed Bars for the lead of the race. He lost the lead on the road to Rob Newman, but because of Rob Newman's penalty, he, of course, would take the victory. This was the moment where Rob Newman nearly pulled off Move of the Year for me, if he'd pulled that off. But he waited for getting by through Stadium. But Rob Moore took the win, his first ever win in Elites. What a heat victory for the number 28. As we move into our final heat of the morning, our final heat for the Clubmans.
I was going to say, mate, bad news for our voice boxes. The Clubmans are back out on track for their last race for determining the grids in their trophy final, emerging from the pit lane there. Let's take you through the grid for the last heat of this Clubman round. Stefan Scully will start this one from pole, having started the previous heat from the back. Darrell Lowe starts from 2nd. He'll be looking to have a good one after dramas in the previous heat. Paul Jennings starts this one from 3rd, and Stephen Jennings starts from 4th, and all Jennings 2nd row there. Stephen Jennings will be looking to make good for the incident of the last heat that involved James Taylor. Freddie Fincham starts this one from 5th, and will also be looking to have a good result because he dropped back in the last heat, as did Martin Theodorou, who starts on 6th. James Martin starts this one from 7th. Luke Hornsby, he was another driver who had an incident in the previous race. He starts 8th. Stuart Osborne and John Watkins round out the top 10. Simon Lloyd starts this one from 11th, and then James Taylor starts this one from 12th, our points leader. David Whitehouse is in 13th, Chris Powell 14th, and then rounding out the 16-kart grid. My goodness, they produce a lot of action just for 16 karts, don't they? Andrew Dawson starts in 15th, and Frankie Hedges starts this one in 16th, and we are going to be good for a go, we reckon, here. So the pace kart will lead them around. It's the final heat to determine the grid for the trophy final in round 9 of the 2018 championship in Clubman's. eyes on the lights, engine notes rise. Stefan Scully leads them away in the number 21. Will he be able to hold on to it? Yes, he will. Look for Paul Jennings trying to hold on to the inside there, but Freddie Fincham's had a rocket ship start there and gets himself up to second there. Brilliant start from Freddie Fincham from 5th on the grid. How did he do that through Stadium? That was fantastic. Just hooked the inside as they all sort themselves out through the hairpins. Nobody come to a stop, I'm delighted to say, as it stands at the moment. You can see James Martin there has had a good start as well. He's got himself up to 4th. So at the moment, it's Stefan Scully, Paul Jennings, Freddie Fincham, then Paul Jennings, and James Martin, who's had a brilliant start. Not for the first time today. Steve Jennings on his tail, and then Darrell Lowe as they come to finish the first lap of the race. Fantastic start from Freddie Fincham there. But
not a good start for Darrell Lowe. I think he got caught napping a little bit in second place there, and as a result has lost a lot of positions. And Stefan Scully, of course, then leads. This is a huge, huge opportunity for Stefan Scully, not just in this heat, but in this round. As up the inside of Andrew Dawson went Frankie Hedges there. Darrell Lowe fighting back past Stephen Jennings. But this is a huge opportunity for Stefan Scully. He's at the front. He's got 2 decent position scores so far today, a 6th and a 7th. If he could put himself at the front of this pack for the final, whereas his championship rival James Taylor is going to be towards the rear end, this is a massive, massive chance for Stefan Scully to pull in a lot of points in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at this. This is a battle between, is this Stuart Osborne and Theodoru?
It is indeed.
As James Martin here having a look at Paul Jennings in hairpin 1. And it's not quite worked there. It's going to allow Darrell Lowe back. Jennings, perhaps understandably frustrated there. And now Steve Jennings is going to try up the inside of Paul Jennings and makes it stick. Or does he? They go side by side on the back straight. If you're a betting man, you'd say Steve will come on the upper hander there, and indeed he does. Stamps his authority through pylon and gets the job done. Not a great lap this for Paul Jennings. You can't say it was wholly his fault either, getting a little bit nerfed there by James Martin in hairpin 1. But this at the front there is Stefan Scully and Freddie Fincham, as the rest of them follow through. Good lap for Darrell Lowe there, up to 3rd place now. And he'll try and break away from James Martin, but that's much easier said than done, because Martin, so far this round, has had really good pace. Freddie Fincham, that last time through, set the fastest lap of the race at 42.8. And you know what? He's got a run on Scully on the back straight. We need to have a look here up at Complex Nivelle. Nothing on this lap, but Fincham has got the bit between his teeth. He missed out on the win earlier on, Andrew, and he wants this debut win on his debut day in Clubman's.
He does indeed. And again, I just wonder, will Stefan Scully be thinking championship here? He won't want to risk anything too much. He's had 4 wins in the heats so far this season out of 24 attempts. Or 26 attempts now. As up the inside goes Fincham in hairpin 1. Can he get the move done on the outside? They're side by side again going into hairpin 2.
Scully's going to try and hang on around the outside. I think he's going to win it through as well, Andrew. Side by side on the back straight, but no, Scully's got it back. Brilliant stuff there from Stefan Scully, coming back round to hold on to his lead. The record books will show as they cross the line there was no official change of the lead, and it's allowed Darrell Lowe and James Martin to get right onto the back of them now to make it a 4-car battle. No, make that 5, because Steve Jennings is on the back there trying to get some consolation to the incident he had in Heat 2. So it's a 5-horse race for the win of this one.
James Martin has also just set the fastest lap of the heat so far, 42.619 for the driver in the number 2 car. But Stefan Scully continues to lead this race ahead of Freddie Fincham. Darrell Lowe there in the 10. Darrell has a little look.
So I thought it was just going hell for leather into pylon there, but holds station for now. Fincham, though, gets a bit of a run off of that of Complex Nivelle, but can't do anything with it. So it's like a snake through the final corner, almost like they're attached. Fincham helps to the inside, but Scully's wise to it and blocks it off. That's going to allow Lowe to have a go, is it? No, it's not. The door's shut by Fincham. Brilliant pack driving this by these 5 drivers. The difficult art of finding ways to attack without having to defend so much as James Martin has a go. Darrell Lowe puts Lowe out. Oh, Lowe nearly hits the tyres. And Steve Jennings gets through as well. That was expensive for Darrell Lowe. He'll feel a little bit worse for and a little hard done by there. But James Martin, by hook or by crook, has got up to 3rd place.
I think Darrell Lowe was a little half committed there as to whether to defend or not into hairpin 1. James Martin took the chance and made the move stick. Now that has split it up slightly. Scully and Fincham. Jennings looking racy there as well in 4th. John Watkins is also going very quickly as well. He's just taken out. He's taken best part of a second out of the likes of Jennings.
Freddie Fincham
On the inside goes Freddie Fincham into hairpin 1. Can he get it stuck this time? He's got to be brave. Into hairpin 2. Will he try and force Scully wide? No, Scully's going to hold it round the outside once again.
Deja
James
vu.
Martin is still there in 3rd. Jennings 4th, so it's back to a pack of 5. But look out, there he is. The number
Steve
33
Jennings
in the background is charging along here, and is going to make it 6 carts in this battle in the not too distant future.
Yeah, and Steve Jennings had a half attempt there at James Martin as well. Through pylon into Complex Neville. Fincham looks to the inside for the lead into Stadium this time. He's going to try and get it done there, and he does. Has Scully got a response? Can he come back at him into hairpin 1? He will be on the rear. He goes to the inside naturally anyway, if nothing else to defend from James Martin, who's not been scared at all of making moves back there, as Darrell Lowe has a go at Steve Jennings. It doesn't pay off, and that's going to allow John Watkins, who's the new man on the scene in this battle for the sharp end of the field, to come right onto the scene and get Darrell Lowe. And there's a little shake of the head from Lowe there. He knows that these moves aren't paying off for him at the moment, and as I say, I think he'll still rue the move made by James Martin a few laps ago at hairpin 1. But change of the lead, Freddie Fincham with 2 minutes to go exactly of this one to the head of the field, and still looking to win his first heat in Clubman's, and up
John
the inside.
Watkins.
Yeah, Watkins up the inside of Steve Jennings. That puts Steve Jennings offline. Darrell Lowe's going to try and come back, but Jennings will have the inside lane to hairpin 1.
13.
And 13's round. 13 of Frankie Hedges is round, going into Stadium. That's a highly unusual place for an experienced driver to come to a stop. Steve Jennings and Darrell Lowe still battling it out. Martin Theodorou, on the scene here. Luke Hornsby, they've arrived on the scene. Where do they come from? We've been focusing so much on these. There's yellows at paddock as well. That is the first
Stadium.
yellow before that. Good point. Well made. So, John Watkins then passed Darrell Lowe on that. John Watkins and Darrell Lowe passed Steve Jennings on that lap. And Luke Hornsby and Martin Theodorou are now part of this battle pack at the head of the field. Andrew, it's still going absolutely mad in this.
Clubman's
It is the Crackers Clubman's, absolutely. There's a right battle going on at the back between 5 carts, I can see, between James Taylor, Andrew Dawson, Paul Jennings. They're all having a big battle as well back there. So everywhere you look, there's battling at the moment. We need to keep the focus towards the front here. Freddie Fincham has got a bit of a break now on the field as he's going to head on to the final lap, Andrew. You have to say, this is looking very good for Freddie Fincham. He's at the moment looking set for his first ever win in Clubman's on his debut round in the Clubman's. And I don't know that anyone's going to have a response here, because Scully is under massive pressure from James Martin and a charging John Watkins.
Well, it could have been in the first heat earlier in the morning that Freddie Fincham did this, but he got a cone penalty which took the win away from him. But here he comes, round Complex Neville. Still the fight going on for second place, but Stefan Scully's going to get a lot of points.
Darrell Lowe on John Watkins there. Keep an eye on that one as they come round to finish.
But round the final corner, here comes Freddie Fincham. Freddie Fincham takes his first ever win in Clubman Club 100 sprints. What a fantastic drive by Freddie Fincham. He takes the win by 1.1 seconds ahead of Stefan Scully. James Martin in 3rd, John Watkins in 4th, Darrell Lowe 5th. Luke Hornsby, good drive from Luke Hornsby. That's his best result so far today in 6th. Martin Theodorou in 7th. Steve Jennings in 8th. Simon Lloyd in 9th. David Whitehouse in 10th. 11th was James Taylor. 12th was Chris Powell. 13th, Andy Dawson. 14th, Paul Jennings. 15th, Stuart Osborne. And 16th, after a spin, which we didn't actually see. We saw the aftermath of it with him pointing the wrong way down the pit straight. Here's the highlights in 16th.
Yeah, absolutely. Another crazy race in the Crackers Clubman's, but that's why we love them. Fantastic battling. That was Theodorou having a look there for a move. The two Jennings had a bit of a battle early on, and this was the battle at the front. Stefan Scully and Freddie Fincham. It was that story throughout the race. Fincham here having a look up the inside early on, but Scully did some fantastic, well, not even defensive driving, some, you know, responsive driving to hold on to his lead, but ultimately it wasn't to be for Scully. You have to say he has to keep one eye on the championship in these situations. James Martin got racy. I think Darrell Lowe will feel a bit hard done by, but, you know, was it a bit of a half attempt at defending? I don't know. It was certainly argy-bargy there. But the battle continued. We've got these 5 karts at the front. Steve Jennings joining in the party to the aforementioned drivers. And then towards the end, Daz Teal, not Daz Teal, sorry, Luke Hornsby and Martin Theodoru joined the party as well. This was Steve Jennings putting the move on Darrell Lowe towards the end. But in the end, it was Freddie Fincham who led across the line 1.1 seconds ahead of the other drivers. And the first race of the day with no penalties.
Goodness me.
You wouldn't have said that when you watched the first couple of races in Clubman's, would you?
No. Right, so we're getting ready for our finals. If you're new to Club 100 or you've not been around in a while, all drivers for this morning's session have completed their 3 heats. We now go in to the final for the elites. 150 championship points up for grabs in this one. And a very, very interesting grid. No one's had an exemplary day so far. So it's all been about consistency. I'm just going to, we're going to do this the old way, but I've got the grid in front of me. It's all good. Daz Teal has pole position for this first race, this first final, sorry, of this Sunday. He will start on the front row alongside Dan Healy. Row 2 will be Joe Holmes and Peter O'Connor. Row 3, Rob Newman and Harry Neal. Row 4, Steve Hicks and Ed Bars. Row 5, Rob Moore and Steve Brown. Row 6, Chris Dixon and Dave Longman. Row 7, Jack Bolton and Dan Truman. Row 8, Peter Harris and Harrison Darville and Jay Elliott. Back in 17. So that's a very, very mixed up grid, Howard.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it just goes to show quite how close and frenetic the action has been in both classes today. Let's just give a shout out to Mark Ridout, who's tuned in, or at least is commenting on the Facebook stream.
No, he's not here today, unfortunately.
No, he's not. He's not. So thank you. Thanks for tuning in, Mark, and thank you for your comments. Congratulating both Fincham and indeed Rob Moore for his earlier debut heat win. In fact, we've just had two
debut heat wins.
First time heat wins, exactly. So fantastic stuff there. As we head into these all-important trophy finals, we suddenly go from 25 points being on offer for a win to 150. Yep. I just gave my commentating colleague there the look of, correct me if I say something dumb there, but it is 150 points on offer. And slightly longer races as well to decide these ones, so even more time for in which the action can ensue. Thank you very much for joining us. Just before we get into these trophy finals, if you're joining us for the trophy finals, let's take the opportunity just to say, if you like what you're seeing here, in terms of the karting, let's start with that. Head over to Club 100's website or their Facebook page using your web browser of choice and find out all about it. Arrive and Drive Karting, so this is a touring fleet of karts that go all around the country to the best loved kart circuits in the UK. They are some of the fastest karts that you can drive in Europe without a karting license. And they are, when we're speaking from experience here, a lot of fun. So if you like what you're seeing there, be sure to look that up. It really is a lot of fun. If you like what you're seeing from the stream, in fact, I'm also going to mention as well, because now's the sort of time of year, if you're a university student.
Oh, yes.
Because we're about to head into freshers season. If you're a university student, then the British Universities Karting Championship is
fastly approaching.
It is very rapidly approaching. Of course, that championship facilitated, run by Club 100. So using this machinery. So if you're a university student or you're at a university and you're not aware of whether your university has a kart club, look it up. If you're at a university that doesn't have a kart club, why not make one? Many have over the years. It's a growing championship, remains so in the BUKC. All are welcome, newcomers and old. So look that up as well, BUKC, British Universities Karting Championship. Finally, if you're liking the stream, Alpha Live, give them a like or a follow on Facebook. You can never remember which one it is. And we are Double Dash Motorsport Media on comms, so be sure to look us up as well.
We're going round again because we're missing a Peter O'Connor, I think, from this grid. He should be in P4. He is not in P4. There he is. He's just coming into the back of shot now. Let's just run through this grid again for this elite final, round 9 of the Club 100 Sprint Championships for 2018. Darren Teal starts on pole position. Alongside him on the front row, there is the number 5 of Daniel Healy. Row 2, Joe Holmes and Peter O'Connor. Row 3 is Rob Newman and Harry Neal. Row 4, Steve Hicks and Ed Bars. Row 5, Rob Moore and former champion Steve Brown. Row 6, Chris Dixon and Dave Longman. Row 7, Jack Bolton and Daniel Truman. Row 8, Peter Harris and Harrison Darville. And Jay Elliott's, there he is at the back of the grid. He has had a kart change, which is he allowed to do. He is allowed to do in P17. We are ready for the final then in the elites, round 9, and the final is go. And Darren Teal gets a good start there, chops across, but look at Joe Holmes up the inside, and he's going to take second place. Rob Newman's trying to follow him through. Steve Hicks is trying to follow him through. They're all pushing around. Rob Moore's had a brilliant start there. He's already got about 3 positions as they head into hairpin 1. Lot of load in there, but can they all get through? Yes, just about. But a brilliant start there, Howard, from Daz Teal. He leads as they exit hairpin 2.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And Dan Healy did a fantastic job of absorbing the pressure there. Never easy to start on grid 2 in a field this strong because they all try and get up the inside into stadium, but has managed to hang on to the top 3 at least, I believe. As they cross the line, we'll have that confirmed. Daz Teal leads them across the line. Joe Holmes in second. No, Rob Newman, of course, got up to third. Then it's Dan Healy. And Rob Moore, now an elite heat winner, in 5th place. But looking for the lead of the race here. Joe Holmes up the inside of Daz Teal into hairpin 1. Seen him do it already today. Seen him do it again. Lovely move there from Joe Holmes, and gets himself into the pound seats for the win of this race. Up to first place is Joe Holmes, and now he quite literally ducks his head, gets his head down and tries to get the pace to pull away. But I don't think that's going to be very easy because Daz Teal has been on the pace today. But change of the lead on lap 2. Coming around to complete this lap then, Joe Holmes then leads it. Daz Teal, Rob Newman there has just seen that happen ahead of him. The man who he wants to challenge for this championship as we enter the end game part of the season has just taken the lead, and the gauntlet has effectively there been thrown down to him. Has Daz Teal got a response a lap on from where he lost the lead? No, he hasn't, but Dan Healy now is challenging Rob Newman for 3rd place. So Newman wants to think about going forward, but he's going to have a little bit of an eye on what's happening behind him. Into Pylon and Complex Nivelle, the field goes. Dan Healy in the 5, challenging the 19 of Rob Newman with his distinctive orange helmet, and behind him is Rob Moore and Peter O'Connor having their own little battle over 5th place. Look at how hard Joe Holmes is trying to push here, but he doesn't have the fastest lap of the race. That goes to Rob Newman, a 42.426. The man is doing everything he can to get onto terms with the top 2 here.
But he has just had a curb warning. He needs to be careful, can't keep accumulating those. This would be big for Daniel Healy, though. He's not had a podium in a final so far this season. So 4th place currently his best in fact, no, he's not even had a top 5. So this would be a big leap forward for Daniel Healy. We know he's got the talent. It's just not quite worked for him so far this year. Joe Holmes, can he get his 5th final win of the year? Darren Teal is not giving this up. He is really pushing Joe Holmes very, very hard indeed. Another new fastest lap of this final from Rob Newman, 42.342. Now, will he start to pull Daniel Healy along? The gap is 0.7 of a second between 2nd and 3rd. For me, Howard, at this stage of the race, Newman, Healy, if they start working together, they've got to start working together if they want to win this race, because Holmes and Teal will take off.
Yeah, agreed. I'm getting the impression that Daz Teal, for the moment at least, is happy to sit behind Holmes and wait for the end strategy of this one. We look slightly further back here at Jay Elliott putting pressure on Jack Bolton over 9th place, although he in turn has Ed Bars and Chris Dixon for company. Actually make that Peter Harris, David Longman, Daniel Truman and Harrison Darville. They're all in this big pack at the back, streaming through the early part of the lap here.
Ed Bars challenging Jay Elliott there for 10th place. Jay Elliott, who's come from the back of the field as well. We are missing a driver. I've just realised we're missing a Steve Brown.
We are missing a Steve Brown.
Steve Brown has not taken the start of this final.
Who retired from the third
Yes,
heat.
he did.
So we assumed it was some kart issue. Was it something a little worse than that, i.e. driver is unable to continue in the day's activities? One hopes not, of course, but at the moment we do not have a Steve Brown. Well, at the moment we do not have a Steve Brown in this race. As we look at the front of the field once again, using as much of the runoff as they're allowed to do so on hairpin 1, and Rob Newman now, Andrew, is right with them. He is right on the back of Daz Teal as they head towards Pylon Corner. I don't think there's going to be anything there. Yes, there is! Yes,
wow.
There is for Rob Newman. How cool and collected was that? Up the inside of Complex Nivelle, and it's going to give Dan Healy a chance on Daz Teal, but Teal is wise to it.
Rob Moore's going to have a good run here, because that was a compromised line for Healy out of the last corner. Moore looking to the inside. Peter O'Connor's in there as well in 6th place. So we've got a 4-kart battle now for the final spot on the podium. Daz Teal continues to hold it then. Joe Holmes and Rob Newman. This is the championship battle that we've wanted to see. First in the championship, second in the championship. Also first and second in this race. There is Rob Newman, and we'll see on this lap, this next lap, whether he's closing in on Joe Holmes or not. 4 minutes and 45 seconds of this final to go. We're still looking at here at battle for 3rd place. Teal, will he go defensive? Healy's still there in 4th, Moore 5th and O'Connor in 6th. The gap is coming down 0.07 of a second quicker on that lap. Was Newman against Holmes.
Quick note on Rob Moore. David Whitehouse, our resident Club 100 statistician,
Absolutely.
has just whispered in my ear. Previous personal best as Dan Healy has a look at Daz Teal, but I don't think there's going to be anything on there unless Daz Teal leaves the door open into Complex Nivelle, which he doesn't. Rob Moore's previous personal best in a trophy final in Elite is 9th. So at the moment he's looking set to have a fantastic finish here today. But at the front, we look like we're going to get treated to a very good on-track representation of the battle in the championship, because Rob Newman continues to whittle down the gap to Joe Holmes. This, though, the battle for 3rd place. Daz Teal and Dan Healy. Nothing on for Healy into hairpin 1. But he is looking racy here. Both these drivers, I have to say, have been driving superbly today. Again, Healy takes a shallower line on exit, but it doesn't set anything up on the back straight for him. So Daz Teal leads them in. And then there's this gap back from Harry Neal to Steve Hicks, who leads this cacophony of karts, as there's Peter Harris and Chris Dixon having some fun there at the back. And David Longman, one of the beneficiaries of that little scuffle there.
You just quickly saw Steve Hicks there in 8th place ahead of Jack Bolton. Hicks he's been on his own at the moment. He's 2.7 seconds down on Harry Neal and half a second ahead of Bolton. Here is the battle for the lead. This gap's come down. It's come down a long way. It's 0.4 of a second at the last count between Holmes and Newman Newman's been about 1/10.5 quicker on average the last 2 or 3 laps. So can Newman, currently the score... That is a very, very quick lap indeed. Apologies if we've just had some technical issues. I think they're all fixed now in the box. You've not missed anything. Holmes still ahead of Newman, but the gap is down to, I reckon, less than 0.2 of a second. Still the battle for third going on. Daz Teal ahead of Daniel Healy, Rob Moore and Peter O'Connor. And there's a penalty for the leader. Oh my goodness me. Well, how big could this be in the championship ramifications? Because Joe Holmes is not going to win this final. He's now defending from Rob Newman. Rob Newman goes to the outside through hairpin 1 into hairpin 2. Now, if you're Rob Newman at this moment, Howard, do you just sit there because you know Joe Holmes has this penalty?
No, if you're Rob Newman, I want the psychological victory as well, and to actually do this properly on the road, if I'm being honest. But maybe Rob Newman's got a more sensible head on those shoulders than I do. He's certainly got a better karting brain on his shoulders than I do. Here he is on the back of Joe Holmes. He doesn't look like a man who's settling for second on the road. Jay Elliott gets a cone penalty as well, so that's going to be frustrating for him. John Holmes going defensive into hairpin 1. He really doesn't want to give this up, even if he knows he has that penalty. And Rob Newman's going to try and duck to the inside, is he? But no. Holmes is wise to him there. Fantastic battling here between two of the best Club 100 karters. Into Pylon and Complex Nivelle they go.
And I think the penalty came through Pylon there. There was a little wag of the finger a couple of laps before to say, I didn't hit that. But I'm afraid for Joe Holmes, it's been called that he did.
On to the last lap then. There's a fantastic battle going on here for third. Daz Teal leading this one, and he has done for most of the race. But Joe Holmes leads the race overall, but won't get the win in the final stands because of a cone penalty. But Rob Newman still wants to do this one on the road. Holmes having to go all kinds of defensive into hairpin 1. Rob Newman has a look to the inside of hairpin 2, but can't get under the braking there. And he's running out of opportunities if he does want to have, as I say, the psychological victory of actually putting the pass on Holmes.
Well, what a day it has been so far for the elites. It's been so close all the way through, and it's not been without controversy. Round the final corner, Joe Holmes has a penalty, so will not take his 5th win at the final. It's going to be Rob Newman who wins for the 2nd final in the row. It's his 3rd final win of the year, and it further makes his championship bid look very, very rosy indeed. He takes the 150 points. Daz Teal takes a fantastic 3rd, and that will be, I think, his 2nd podium in the final of this season. What a drive from him today. Mr. Consistency throughout the 3 heats in the final. Well deserved. Daniel Healy takes his best result so far this season in P4. Rob Moore takes his best position in an elite final so far this season in P5. Peter O'Connor 6th, Harry Neal 7th, Steve Hicks 8th, Jack Bolton 9th, and Ed Bars wrap out your top 10. Let's have a look at some highlights from that race then. And early on, well, I'm amazed no one spanned through hairpin 1 on that first one. Jay Elliott had a good run from the back of the field. In the end, finished in 11th place. Here was the move for the lead, Joe Holmes on Daz Teal, who held on to Holmes for a good while. Rob Newman started to come through the field and was there in 3rd. Brilliant move this by Newman up the inside into 2nd place. Daniel Healy had a little look there for 3rd, but Daz Teal was able to hold on throughout the course of the race. Peter Harris and Chris Dixon had a bit of contact there through Pylon and Complex Nivelle. And here was the story of the race, the point of the finger. Joe Holmes receiving a cone penalty in the final quarter of the race, which meant that he lost the final win to Rob Newman, who just sat there, just took things sensible, took the final victory and took round 9. Absolutely delighted there in the background was Rob Moore there in 5th. But a very, very interesting day, Howard, in the elites, and really poises things very, very nicely for when we go to Clay Pigeon in a few weeks' time for round 10.
I'll turn myself up. Yeah, the Stegosaurus is back. There we go. We said it was close coming into today, Andrew. That's really opened it up even further now as we head into the closing stages. You've got the defending champion of Joe Holmes and the newcomer to the class in Rob Newman. fantastic stuff that we've got ahead of us here, and it's been a fantastic day's action in that class. I think the standard of racing has generally been really, really high, and we've had relatively little in the way of incident and penalties within the elites, I think it's fair to say, at least when one's comparing it against those taken to the track now, where it's been perhaps a bit more frantic. But no, a really good day's action from the elites, and yeah, absolutely, making the championship very, very interesting. And well done to Rob Moore,
Yep,
for his personal best, and Dan Healy,
yep,
for his personal best of the year as well. So good stuff there for many of those drivers at the front of that one. Right, let's talk about the Clubman class, which has been absolutely crackers today. As they emerge from the pit lane onto their warming up laps. We're not going to have the grid graphic again for this one, unfortunately, so we are going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. But after all the thrills and spills, it's quite an interesting grid for our Clubmans. It's going to be an interesting one, this, and honestly, if I was a betting man,
yep,
I'd stay away from the betting for this one. It's just, I'd give up quite quickly with trying to work out who's going to win this one. I tell you that now. So whilst they're warming up, here is your grid for the Round 9 Trophy Final in the 2018 Club 100 Clubman's Sprint Championship. John Watkins is going to start this one from pole. Consistent running throughout the day Watkins has had. Third in the point standings at the moment, and he sits in the best seats, the pound seats, on pole position. Freddie Fincham,
first pole of the season.
First pole of the season as well for John Watkins, having not won any of the heats as well,
yep,
we should say. So consistency is king for John Watkins today, and he's earned himself that pole. Freddie Fincham, on his Clubman's debut, starts on the front row for the trophy final in second place. Third on the grid is James Martin, who's been very racy today. And Stefan Scully, second place man in the points, starts in fourth. On the third row of the grid is Simon Lloyd and Andrew Dawson. David Whitehouse and Chris Powell will be on row 4. And rounding out the top 10 will be Paul Jennings and Darrell Lowe. Martin Theodorou will start 11th. 12th will be Luke Hornsby. Frankie Hedges will start 13th. 14th will be Stuart Osborne. And on the back row was Stephen Jennings and current Clubman Championship points leader James Taylor.
We are very likely to have as James Martin goes in for a kart change. We are very, very likely with that grid, Howard, to have a first time this season final winner in Clubman. Of the 8 finals we've had so far, 5 of them have been won by James Taylor. He's at the back. Mm-hmm. 1 went to Stephen Jennings. He's at the back. 1 went to Liam Cochran. He's not actually racing. He's actually out on the cameras today. And the other went to Darrell Lowe. Now, Darrell is, outskirts of the top 10?
In the championship?
Yep.
He's 6th.
6th. Sorry, on this grid.
He is on the outskirts of the top 10. He's 10th.
So you've got 9 drivers there ahead of him who have not won a race have not won one of these Clubman finals so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about how all the classes were close, but going into today, this one perhaps was the least close. And all of a sudden, we've got 2nd and 3rd in the championship, in the top 4 of this grid, and the points leader at the back. So this is a real opportunity for Stefan Scully and John Watkins to really do some damage to James Taylor's lead here.
And it's damage limitation time for James Taylor. Out the pits comes the number 2 of James Martin, who's due to start from P3. So he will go out there to take his position. Now the risk, of course, that you do here, Howard, is you go for a kart change because you're not happy with the first one that you've been randomly allocated. But you go out, as James Martin is just done in the second one, and it's a cold kart.
It's a cold kart, or indeed, in a very rare circumstances, you could end up with another problem on that kart.
And it's very much a feel thing, isn't it?
It is.
You know, hand-maintained karts. All of them have pretty much the same performance, but from kart to kart, there'll be different characteristics on each of those karts. So one might have better braking than the other, or braking that suits another driver compared to another one. So that's why James has changed that kart, not necessarily because the first kart had a really big problem, but because it just wasn't to his liking.
Yeah, and it has to be said that the Club 100 team do a fantastic job of keeping these karts nice and even. It's one of the big plus points of the Club 100 championship. But obviously, there will always be some differences that creep in with these karts as the thumb goes up from the pusher kart driver, meaning we are going to be good for the start. So all drivers focusing their minds on the start of this one. It's going to be John Watkins in the white helmet. There he is. Leading this one away with Freddie Fincham in his first ever Clubman's Trophy final. The pusher kart then will pull off to the side. It'll be eyes on the lights and engine notes rise. John Watkins leads them away in the Clubman's Trophy final for round 9. James Martin will look to go up the inside of Freddie Fincham into turn 1. Is it all clean through there? It looks to be so far. Watkins has held on, and Fincham has done what many second place starters haven't this year today. And has held on to second as they go down into hairpin 1. I can see James Taylor is already on the move. He's done about 5 karts to the look from what I can see.
Yep.
As they come onto the back straight. James Martin under pressure from Stefan Scully, who's managed to retain 4th place off of the grid here, and Simon Lloyd pressuring him as they come into Complex Nivelle. It's, if anything, Andrew, the most tame start I think we've seen from the Clubmans today. Not too many changes and not too many daredevil moves there. Conscious that this is the race in which the big points are on offer. John Watkins then leads them across the line. Freddie Fincham, James Martin, Stefan Scully, and Simon Lloyd, your top 5. And James Taylor, up to 10th place from the back, Andrew. He's definitely doing the definition of damage limitation there. Really on the move. And look at this, Darrell Lowe bulked in the hairpin 1 there. And it's going to allow Stephen Jennings to have a look. And James Taylor tries to get the opportunistic move there, but I'm not sure if he's going to win out. It's going to be almost 3 wide going into pylon there. It's going to be difficult to sort themselves out. David Whitehouse having a battle with Andrew Dawson and Simon Lloyd ahead, and I think Whitehouse has got past both of them actually. So good racing from Whitehouse there up to 5th place as they come round to finish lap 2. John Watkins, Freddie Fincham, James Martin, Stefan Scully, and it was indeed David Whitehouse there. James Taylor now up to 9th place in this quest to try and limit the damage that John Watkins and Stefan Scully can do to his championship lead. Very hard, very close racing in the mid-pack as Taylor goes for another move this time past Jennings. It was Paul Jennings, that one. Sorry. I think I called him Steve a lap ago. And Darrell Lowe's gone up the inside as well. The other Jennings in the red is there as well. Steve Jennings in the red. Paul Jennings in the yellow helmet. So James Taylor trying to pick his way through the field, but knowing that he's had a few penalties so far today, hence why he had to start from the back of the field. This is a damage limitation job as the battle going on for 3rd place. Stefan Scully, curb warning for David Whitehouse, but Stefan Scully, I just wonder, has he seen James Taylor starting to fly through and realised, I've got to get on with this, I've got to get past James Taylor, because Freddie Fincham and John Watkins are up the road. I won't say gone, not yet. There's a long way in this race to go, but the gap is increasing. Yeah, absolutely. And you do sometimes catch glimpses of what's happening further back. You know, as you've got the hairpins here, you can just look across and see the earlier part of the lap. This is an intense battle going on between Steve Jennings and Darrell Lowe. And that was very wide from Steve Jennings there. And Luke Hornsby trying to move through as well. I think we have a somewhat unhappy Darrell Lowe here. I think he's felt a bit bullied at times here out on track today. There have been some rather, robust moves pulled on Darrell Lowe, it has to be said today. And I've seen him shaking his head a little bit as some of these moves have gone on, as there's a cone penalty for Martin Theodoru out there, currently running in 14th place. He's at the back of this pack. In fact, he tries up the back inside of Steve Jennings here. As ahead of them, Frankie Hedges has a look at Darrell Lowe now. It's so tight in this mid-pack as they all try and sort themselves out into Complex Nivelle. They did all make it through. Further ahead, though, there's the yellow helmet of Paul Jennings. Cone penalties coming in. That's the one for Martin Theodoru that we've already mentioned. So at the head of this one, it's still John Watkins and Freddie Fincham, and they've got 3 seconds in hand over this pack that we're looking at now of James Martin, Stefan Scully and David Whitehouse. Andrew Dawson, Simon Lloyd and Paul Jennings trying to get onto the back of this as well now.
The worry's got to be for James Martin. If he loses that position to Stefan Scully, he's going to drop like a stone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is the risk when you change the karts, that in the early stages of the race, you can be vulnerable as the kart starts to warm up. I mean, we found it yesterday in endurance when we had to change in practice, and everybody else was 15 laps into getting their karts warmed up and had a lot more pace. It's just a simple nature of the beast. So James Martin has just got to defend for his life now. He's not going to win this race.
Scully up the inside of James Martin into the hairpin one. He was looking a bit desperate there, that he really wanted to get the position, and he tried it. But David Whitehouse tried to get in on that, and somehow James Martin has held on to that. That all happened so quick that I could almost not describe it. It's effectively a 7-car battle over third place, and at the back of this pack is James Taylor. And James Taylor has just got past Paul Jennings at the back there. So our championship leader is on the move here, and you know what? He's not that far behind Scully now in the running order. Scully desperately needs to get on the move here, and that's why we saw such a dive up the inside of hairpin one. He needs to get the hammer down here.
I'm going to make a prediction here. James Taylor's going to get on the podium. At the rate at which he is going and just picking the moves so well, he could still get a podium. That was a crucial bit of driving, though, about half a lap ago from James Martin to hold on to that third place through any means necessary, and did it cleanly as well. There he is, still there in third. Scully fourth. Dawson, who's had a good day so far, up in fifth. And then 6th, 7th and 8th down to James Taylor. 4.5 minutes to go then. There are your leaders. John Watkins ahead of Freddie Fincham. 2 drivers who know each other very well, raced against each other in lightweights last season.
And you've got to say, by the way, as we're still watching this ferocious battle over third, Fincham playing the ideal sprint strategy here, Andrew. He's working together with the leader. They've got 5, nearly 6 seconds in fact, over 6 seconds in hand now as this battle goes on for third place. And look at this, 3 abreast. David Whitehouse in the white, Paul Jennings in the yellow helmet, and James Taylor, our championship leader.
And
all
that's
going there.
no
Darryl
problem.
Lowe. Is that a problem for our leader as he just slowed off the corner? Darryl Lowe's managed to get past. I think that was just him losing momentum, Andrew, but we'll keep an eye on that one. And that was expensive for James Taylor there. So he'll now need to work his way back up. But yeah, the top 2 working together here, and you've got to look at, they're all basically taking a defensive line into stadium. Staying over to the riders' line, and finally it pays off for Scully up the inside through to the second part of the stadium. He's got past James Martin, and now he'll defend like crazy for a couple of corners to make sure there's no reply. Meanwhile, Andrew Dawson and Simon Lloyd are having a go, and David Whitehouse is buying in as well. Paul Jennings up the inside, opportunistic move. Whitehouse and Lloyd are wide. Darryl Lowe's now getting in on this. 3 abreast into pylon. Who comes out on top? It's Darryl Lowe. Darryl Lowe, Paul Jennings, and now James Taylor is having a look at Lloyd, at Simon Lloyd there. My goodness me, it's all change here. John Watkins and Freddie Fincham, you'd be forgiving for forgetting they're in this race. They're 7.8 seconds up the road. Stefan Scully to third place. James Martin currently in fourth. Andrew Dawson, Darryl Lowe, Paul Jennings, James Taylor and Simon Lloyd. And David Whitehouse losing out on that lap down to 10th. But it's changing faster than I can read them out. Now Whitehouse tries up the inside of Simon Lloyd. And look out for those who are catching up to this battle. Luke Hornsby, Frankie Hedges. There is Hedges having a look at Hornsby up the inside of hairpin 2. Stephen Jennings in the red tries to get involved. Luke Hornsby holds on. And now Jennings will try and get past Hedges. My goodness me. And that's Hedges. Frankie Hedges is round. And I'd have to say, they'd been impressing me so much with how closely they were racing and how little incident there had been. But unfortunately for Hedges, it's all come to tears. Yellow's now out, of course, in that part of the lap as the battle continues. This is James Taylor in the blue and fluorescent yellow ahead of David Whitehouse. Whitehouse looking up the inside into hairpin 1, and in the end it wasn't 100% commitment there, and it didn't pay off. And James Taylor now indicating to David Whitehouse, let's work together, let's catch up. But he needn't worry because they're battling so much. 2 by 2 into pylon. Through they go. James Martin leads them through. Andrew Dawson, Paul Jennings in the yellow helmet, Simon Lloyd, and look for James Taylor and David Whitehouse capitalising. David Whitehouse goes up the inside of Paul Jennings. He's on the move, but look at James Taylor getting the switch back. No, it's Darrell Lowe. They're so close here, side by side across the line. It's 3x3 towards Stadium Corner. There's just over a minute to go. Cone penalty for Frankie Hedges. It goes from bad to worse for him. But here they are battling it out. They finally arrange themselves into something looking remotely like single file.
That's not single file. That's single file at all. Wide through hairpin one. What are you on about?
It was briefly single file. Briefly. This is frenetic, frantic stuff here. Steve Jennings and Paul Jennings battling it out now. James Martin leads this crazy battle from fourth down. It's allowed Stefan Scully to just go off and have a little holiday in third place there. He's not going to catch him to the top two. There he is, just at the bottom of your shot. James Martin goes defensive to James Taylor, looking this way and that. Where's he coming from? Andrew Dawson and Simon Lloyd side by side through Stadium as well. Here are your leaders on the last lap, by the way. If Freddie Fincham wants to take his first win he's going to get his first podium in a trophy final in Clubman's, but has he got any response to try and take the win? Our cameras don't know where to look. I don't know what to talk about, but here come the two leaders. John Watkins comes around the last corner, and having not won any of the heats, he's going to take the round victory for round 9. Freddie Fincham gets a podium, a trophy on his first.
Oh no!
Luke Hornsby on the last lap. Here's Stefan Scully, who has a lonely but well-deserved and very happy third place. And there goes James Martin. Oh my goodness, has he absorbed the pressure? James Martin in fourth, James Taylor in fifth. And then the gaps, Andrew Dawson sixth, 1/10 behind Simon Lloyd in seventh, David Whitehouse in eighth, 9th for Steve Jennings, Chris Powell in 10th, Stuart Osborne 11th, 12th for Martin Theodoru. Darrell Lowe finishes 13th after featuring so much in those battles in the top 10. Paul Jennings finishes 14th, last of the sort of main train, because the remaining two had incidents and accidents. Luke Hornsby, oh my goodness me, how disappointing for him, going off wide or being involved in all of the racing there and ended up out wide and into the tyres at Complex Nouvelle. And Frankie Hedges had an off and a cone penalty, and I need to lie down. And oh my goodness, you're not going to play us a highlights reel of that.
Before the whole race. That comes through, I just want to mention 4th to 14th, 3.3 seconds over the line.
So here was the early stuff. James Martin at the front there, and then here was the battle. You got Paul Jennings there, and James Martin started leading this train for third place. So Fincham and Watkins got to the front of this field very early on. Well, they basically led away from their grid positions very well, held on to those in the first lap. And then James Martin just started leading this ridiculous battle pack. Here's James Taylor, who did a fantastic piece of 16th to 5th. Okay, that's what damage limitation looks like. This frantic battle, this was Luke Hornsby and Darrell Lowe having a go at each other. David Whitehouse featured in a lot of this. Here was the move from Stefan Scully to finally get past James Martin. Oh no, it wasn't, sorry. James Martin got back, and then everyone thought they'd go 4 abreast, or attempted at least on the back straight. That was Andrew Dawson, Simon Lloyd and David Whitehouse having those battles. Eventually Scully got past James Martin and was able to break away from the madness, but James Martin continued to lead from 4th downwards. It was just everybody was involved. Scully was trying to move on James Martin all the time through Stadium. Finally got it done there. This was continuing battles between Lloyd and Whitehouse. That's where they went out wide, allowing Paul Jennings through. Whitehouse later got Lloyd back. This was Hedges. This was Frankie Hedges, and soon after that, unfortunately, he would have a spin with a bit of contact involved there. Going 2 by 2 down the back straight, James Martin, Andrew Dawson, Paul Jennings, and Darrell Lowe. James Taylor reading that situation beautifully, as did David Whitehouse. There they are on the inside there, David Whitehouse in the white. And then the switchback, though, allowed Simon Lloyd to have a look as well. This was the point where you couldn't see the wood for the trees in terms of the battle, to be honest with you. James Taylor got onto the back of James Martin in the end. That's how he finished 5th. And in the end, it was John Watkins winning ahead of Freddie Fincham on his Clubman's debut. I think he can go home happy. Stefan Scully getting the third place. James Martin, there was the disappointment from Luke Hornsby in the final lap. James Taylor finishing a very respectable 5th, considering how the heats played out for him and the grid spot that he had. Oh my goodness me. Andrew, I think there's a podium going on of some description as well.
That's generally what happens at the end of the race.
It is, but I need someone else cover the podium. I need a break. We are going to cut down to the podium, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We plan to.
Yes, it'll be Muttley.
Yes.
And I nearly said it the wrong way around there. Muttley, aka Andrew Cal, but it's Andrew Cal, aka Muttley, who I presume will be doing the podium presentation by way of the fact that John Viger is on holiday and is not here unusually. Loads of comments coming in for that one. There we go. Yes, that's a good thing. Share, like, tag if you've enjoyed what you've seen. Andrew, please say something.
Yeah, that's, so support coming in for Freddie Finch. I'm really impressed with Freddie today. Know his racing skills well, having raced him myself. Second place. That's not bad. That's not a bad way to start in Clubman's at all. Obviously, he won't be really part of the championship towards the end of the year in terms of getting the big pots, but maybe thinking towards next year. Freddie, here's an early prediction, or an early possible prediction. Freddie Fincham to go for the championship next year in Clubman. Let's watch this space. Support coming in from Rob Moore, who for me is one of the drivers of the morning with that P5 in Elites. Who else have we got as well? Chris Simpson as well. I know he's involved with us, but this is very, very true. Isn't this mega? Share the stream on your Facebook, please. We are, of course, coming to the end of this one, but we are due to be back at 1 o'clock for the lights and the heavies, and some interesting entries in that one as well, which we'll talk about later. And I think we are now ready to go down to the podium and to see the drivers pick up their trophies for today. So thank you very much, and we'll catch you back on the commentary at 1 o'clock.
Make sure they get your best side. Make sure they get your best side. My side is the best. Back of your head. Backside. So come on, any more elite and Clubman drivers? If you'd like to make your way round to the podium, we're going to start the presentation. What did you do? Did you fire it up? Right, everybody, here we go. We'll do the Clubmans first, and we'll go from 15th place. In 15th place, Paul Jennings. 14th place, Frankie Hedges. 13th, Luke Hornsby. 12th, Martin Fiordora. 11th place, Stuart Osborne, and in 10th, Christopher Powell. 9th place, Stephen Jennings. 8th, David Whitehouse. 7th, Simon Lloyd. 6th, Andrew Davidson. And in 5th place, James Taylor. And just missing off from the podium is James Martin in 4th. So in 3rd place, we have Stefan Scully. And in second spot, and it was a good race up front, very tight in the end, is Freddie Fincham. And on the top spot, good drive, John Watkins.
John. Which helps.
Alright, we come to the elite class now. In 16th place, Dan Truman. 15th, David Longman. 14th place, Pete Harris. 13th, Chris Dixon. 12th, Jay Elliott. 11, Harrison Darville. And in 10th place, Edward Bars. Coming in the top 10, 9th, Jack Bolton. 8th, Stephen Hicks. Good drive by Harry Neal, a rookie driver. And in 6th place, Pete O'Connor. And another excellent drive for another rookie driver, Rob Moore. And just missing out, oh yeah, let's have a round of applause. And just missing off on the top spot, we've got Dan Healy. But in third place, Darren Till. And in second place, we have Joe Holmes. And going top spot and top rookie as well, can you believe it, is Rob Newman. Oh, bag, yeah, sorry, mate. Bag of goodies. Bag of goodies. Thank Joe for that.
What are you holding on to there, Dan?
Alright, thanks everyone. If you can give me a big clap, that's brilliant. Thanks for all turning up, thanks for making our life a little bit easier. And we've got the O plate coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So if you can get yourself booked into that, lights and heavies, old format, we'd love to see you all there.
I'm just going to do the interview. Step forward a little bit.
Rob Newman. Hey, now that worked well, didn't it? Because I guess it was 5 wins to 2, and that was your third win of the season.
Yes, yeah.
And
He's still got a big lead though. It's
he
a
has,
bit
isn't
annoying.
it? About
He's very
30 odd
consistent.
points?
Yeah, something like that. I think this round we gained 3, so 10 rounds like that we'll be up to it.
but still, you can keep it going until.
Exactly.
Butler
So
Park,
keeps
all
it alive,
drivers,
yeah, keeps it alive.
we are here for the test.
But yeah, it's he's really consistent. It's really annoying.
So you've been at this game quite a
All
while.
drivers that are
I remember
taking
you
part
from
in the
Easy
test
Car.
Yeah.
this
Lights.
afternoon. Can
Yeah.
we make our way
Well,
to the
I've
end
been
of the
racing since
pit
I was
lane?
8, so the rookie trophy's a bit.
Where Andy
It's
is going to give
questionable,
you
but
a
lately-
quick chat.
to this.
Yeah, but lately you've turned into a
So all
British
drivers
University karting
that are
champion
participating
star.
in the test,
Are you coming back to
can
do
you
that
please
again
make
later
your
in
way
the
to
year?
the end of
Yeah,
the pit lane?
I'll be there for the Drivers' Championship, but I'm in 4th year now, so I won't have time for the whole thing.
So you can't do the grads then? You're going to let somebody else win it?
So come on in, drivers, quick as we can, please.
Yeah.
We need to start
Exactly,
speeding
yeah.
this up.
So what's the
need to
attraction
get
of Club
going.
100 then if you've done everything else?
We've
We're
run out
in
of
the
money.
test.
As a student, it's difficult. So yeah, the student loan just about pays for a bit of Club 100 as well.
What are student loans for? Eh? Exactly. Well, well done, Rob. And yeah, let's just make it awkward for you. I'll make it
So
awkward
I
for
currently
Joe.
have 2 drivers
a lot.
for the test at the moment.
All right, we're out. And we'll be coming back with the qualifying, I think maybe, from the lights and heavies. and then we'll be going into racing lights and heavyweights this afternoon. Tune in, it'll be on the Facebook on a different stream, and we'll see you later on.
So we're still waiting on all drivers.
Thank you, Chris Simpson, down on the podium with the interviews there. And as he says, action coming with the lights and heavyweights this afternoon. So don't go well, do go anywhere. Have a brief break, but join us again within the next hour for all the action coming in lights and heavyweights. And yes, if anyone was concerned, I've got my voice back, which is good. So let's close this one out then. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been an Alpha Live stream with coverage by Double Dash Motorsport Media on the commentary on behalf of Club 100 at round 9 of the 2018 Club 100 Sprints Championship. Do join us again later on today, but for now, thank you very much for watching, and we'll be with you again later on.